I don't know first of all, I don't know if the Sixers are even in the mix, but I'm not scared of this move as a Sixer fan. I'm not scared of the Knicks at all. They're adding a duplicative piece. They probably have OG if he comes back.
OG,
they have like 14 perimeter players. What's the difference Mikal Bridges making? So it's going to be Jalen Brunson on the outside or Dante DiVincenzo on the outside, or now it's Mikal Bridges on the outside? Don't they already have him?
They needed more bodies. They ran out of bodies in last year's playoffs, and this is all about maybe not the 76ers so much as you're just wearing your 76ers hat today, but also the Boston Celtics. And how do you stop the Boston Celtics, and how do you make sure you have enough wings who can play defense to take on Tatum and Brown?
Well, it's so funny. I was thinking before, they are built for the Celtics, right? Just like the Timberwolves were built to beat the Nuggets, and then they had absolutely no matchup for a more perimeter-oriented Dallas. You can't build for one team in the NBA because you have no idea what's going to happen moving forward. So I think it's going to be interesting. I feel like this is definitely a Sweet 16 team, maybe an Elite 8 team. They have the formula. They're a mid-level college team that doesn't have one-and-dones. They remind me so much of that Villanova team, and I don't even think that's a negative. They're just guys who play the right way, who are wildly talented, and they're just going to grind and come at you relentlessly. Is that enough to get you over the top in the NBA? I'm not sure.
Where's Chris Jenkins? It doesn't.
He might as well be there.
It doesn't remind you of the team. It is the team. This is the four guys in the start. Well, it'd probably be like three guys in the starting lineup with Dante DiVincenzo coming off the bench. But you would have Josh Hart, obviously Jalen Brunson, who's turned himself into an MVP candidate, and then you're going to have Mikal Bridges all in the same starting five. It is Nova with, again, DiVincenzo maybe coming off the bench, maybe not. So this is pretty wild for what happened last night, considering it was also 4 unprotected first-round picks and 1 protected first-round picks that's technically from Milwaukee. I'm not going to bore you with the details on this one. Pick swap in 2028. This all goes to the Nets. The Nets are basically telling you, we have no prayer. We cannot find a star to put next to Mikal Bridges. So instead, we're going to trade with our crosstown rival. We're going to give them maybe what they believe could be a missing piece, or one of the missing pieces for the Knicks, and watch the Nets now bottom out and try to get as high draft picks as they possibly can. So that was what was going on the East Coast last night, with the Knicks making this really big trade with the Brooklyn Nets, and it was all about Mikal Bridges. He's never been an all-star, but yet 4 first-round picks and unprotected and 1 protected got traded for him last night. And Bogdan Bogdanović, I should also add that in.
I just want to say that if there's 4 first-round picks for a high-end role player like Mikal Bridges, yeah, I said it, high-end role player, like, man, there aren't going to be a lot of trades today. Because if it costs 4 first-round picks to get Mikal Bridges, how are you going to get a number 1? Because I think he's a number 2, in my opinion.
Okay, I think there was a little bit of an extra cost if you're going to be trading with the crosstown rival. So the price has got to go up a little bit, because if the Knicks win a title, that's bad for the Nets, right? Like, I think there's always a little bit of a tax built in if you're trading with a team like that. And they knew that Bridges wanted to go to New York. And I think that the other thing, too, about the Nets, which we won't spend a lot of time on because they're going to be completely irrelevant for a while, the Nets realized this Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, James Harden thing blew up so spectacularly. And maybe they saved it a little bit here with Bridges, who could end up bringing the future, a future cornerstone now that they've traded him away for these draft picks. They realized they need to do this through the draft. You can't do this again. It doesn't work in Brooklyn or New Jersey or whatever. It doesn't work. You can't do the Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce at the end of their career, and you can't just be this sitting duck team where stars can come in, start demanding that you fire head coaches, that you trade for their best friends. This is not going to work for the Nets like that. So they need to start over, and hopefully they draft their future Victor Wembanyama or someone like that who is going to be a homegrown guy.
I thought they decided that 3 years ago. Is that still in play to be a superstar? Anyway, but regardless of that, though,
2 years ago, they had Durant
I disagree with you. I think there was a chill around the NBA last night around this deal, because if the Knicks gave up 4 first-round picks, what are the Lakers going to have to give up to get a superstar? I think this is a bad sign for a lot of teams. A lot of teams are like, wow, 4 first-round picks. Now all of a sudden the Lakers are like, oh, there's no way I'm going to get a superstar in here. Because if that's what you need for Mikal Bridges, what do you need for Donovan Mitchell
there's players that could also be traded for those guys too. That's the thing.
It's gonna be. I think the asking prices seem like, oh man, they're high.
Yeah, well, you're right about that. Yeah. I can't argue with it. So there's a Knicks side of this, and we can definitely unpack that. And listen, they were basically a couple injuries away from probably making the Eastern Conference Final last year and making the final.
We don't really need to unpack. We just pull up film of the 2017 run of the Wildcats and watch them play, and there you have a preview. And I admit they're pretty awesome, and actually they're kind of likable. But it's a funny way to start this whole day of wild NBA moves.
You want to know the real sad part about this? Just a little bit small under the surface with the Knicks. They could have just had Mikal Bridges, but they drafted Kevin Knox, and that was a mistake. And he could have been the first Villanova Nick, and they blew it.
Can I one-up you? The Sixers did draft him, had his mom working for the team, and traded him for, what's that guy's name? Zaire Smith, who is somewhere playing in deep New Zealand right now. The Sixers drafted him, and he would be a perfect Sixer. And his mom worked for the team. He's from Philly, and they let him go. So, no. I don't want to hear about Kevin Knox. there are a lot of teams.
Is one step away from deep New Zealand.
Yeah, there are a lot of GMs.
Kazakhstan.
There are a lot of GMs who are like, man, I should have taken Mikal Bridges. He's one of those guys. Don't you hate? I hate those guys.
He won 2 titles. Everyone knew they should have taken him. Anyway, so now he's with the Knicks, all the Nova Knicks. I know, EJ, you're dying to get in on this. We will let you get in on it, but this is not the full story of everything that happened last night, because our pal, I guess, Adrian Wojnarowski, was on one last night. Can we unplug Woj, blow in the cartridge, and plug him back in? Because that was, I feel like he was short-circuiting a little bit last night. But here's what you need to know about what happened. So there were trades last night that essentially restored picks to the Houston Rockets, right? And potentially to the Phoenix Suns. It's kind of a little bit complicated, but just know that picks changed hands, not players. Windy fingers, not players, but picks changed hands yesterday, kind of in anticipation that the Houston Rockets will be making a big swing for somebody, Perloff. And this is where I feel like Woj was short-circuiting last night, and maybe we can just get it all together. At first, it was reported that Houston is stockpiling picks, which they have a lot of already, but they're stockpiling even more picks because they want to go after Kevin Durant. So that's a big one. That's a big matzo ball out there.
Yeah.
But then it was later said, well, maybe it's not for Durant this year. Maybe it's for Durant next year. Okay, well, it's June of 2024, so why would we be talking about June of 2025? The draft hasn't even happened. There's so much that could go on. Then Woj kind of amends it and said, well, it could be for Durant, Perloff, but it also could be for Devin Booker. It's like, yeah, those two things aren't the same. And that would be the blockbuster trade of the offseason if somehow Booker was available. And to be honest, Durant would probably be a pretty big blockbuster too, considering his stature in the game. But Woj was all over the road last night with these picks and then what it means for the Houston Rockets.
I don't know, Maggie. I would not. I feel like Shams with this whole Danny Hurley thing woke up a sleeping giant, because Woj has now got a stranglehold on all the Lakers news. He's apparently the mouth. He's breaking everything. He's like 8-0 on Shams right now. I feel like Woj got angry and now is breaking everything. I like these potential trade rumors. Booker, by the way, has been. It's not out of the realm of thought that Booker will be gone this offseason. A lot of people have been looking at that situation and saying, wow, Booker should not be in Phoenix. He should be somewhere else. He wanted to go to the Knicks earlier in the offseason.
Sure.
So I think a lot of people are sniffing around Booker. I kind of like this. I wonder, what do you think actually happened with Durant? Do you think that Houston told him, hey, we're doing this to get Durant, and then he tweeted and they called back and said, hey, we can't get Durant. You're too early on this? Like, what do you think the process might have been? I mean, I know you have to guess.
Yeah, I mean, I would not put anything past Kevin Durant because I don't think he knows what he wants. He wanted to get out of Brooklyn so badly, forced a trade to Phoenix, got there, and maybe it wasn't exactly what he thought. You know, they've got a new owner. They've got a new front office with Isaiah Thomas in it. And Isaiah Thomas was an all-time great player and is an all-time awful general manager or anything adjacent to that. So maybe he doesn't trust the people in charge in Phoenix. Maybe it was a little grass is always greener situation. I would believe that Durant maybe was floating out that he wants to play for Ime Udoka.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's how long do these failed threesomes or trios work? So he got to Brooklyn. The whole thing fell apart in 2 years. So Phoenix, it's all going to fall apart in about a year and a half.
Yeah, we're on track for that.
Yeah, I think, and it's obviously like, I don't think heard no one who thinks the Suns team has any chance of winning a title. So why not rip it apart now? Why are we just going to be a slow death over 2.5 years? I would just, if I'm the Suns, I just tear off the Band-Aid. Just get rid of everybody. There's no reason. Durant, Booker, and Beal specifically was a terrible idea, and this is going nowhere. So why wait?
Well, the problem is Beal's got a no trade clause that came with him from Washington. So
he sticks around, but Durant and Booker are like, why?
I wonder if this ownership group, again, new owneritis, we talk about all the time. Guy comes in, talking a big game, got this big rivalry already with like owners like Dan Gilbert because of the insurance business that they're all in. He's a former walk-on at Michigan State, this guy, Matt Ishbia. I think that he's got an ego about him, obviously. And he paid a ton for the team. The Phoenix Suns, didn't they sell for like $4 billion? The Clippers sold for $2 billion. I mean, he paid a lot. So to tear it all down now, I don't think that's in the cards. I think this is a Durant thing. I think it's coming from his side of it where he's like, I need to get out of here.
Oh, really? I cannot follow the details of this trade. I was thinking about the Suns know that the Durant, Beal, Booker trio is going nowhere, right? So, and the thing about the Suns is they have no future assets. Like they're really in dire shape moving forward. I think they secretly must, anybody there, even Isaiah, if he's the worst GM in the world, has to know it's rebuild time. Right, because like how on earth is that team going to get through the West?
It's a great question. Here's the actual Woj tweet, if I can just read it for you guys, and it's just interesting. So he said, so the Rockets landed a bunch of Suns picks. Essentially, the Rockets now have a chance to control the Suns' 2025, 2027, and 2029 first-round picks. So you are making a major bet that Phoenix is going to bottom out and you're going to have some major draft assets here at the top of the first round. Now, Woj said the implications of the Rockets landing the Suns picks, Houston wants to trade for Kevin Durant, and that becomes far easier if they can return the Suns picks that they gave up in the Durant deal to the Nets. The Suns have said they're keeping Durant for now, but that could change next season. But now Houston has the picks to make the Suns whole again. Just The first comment on this is just casually bombing they want to trade for Kevin Durant. And then, but that wasn't where it ended. You also then had Woj later on just casually dropping also that this could be about Booker. Rockets possess a pick swap with the Suns in 2025, Suns picks in 2027, and can end up with the Suns pick in 2029 based on contingencies. If the Suns are ever faced with breaking up the team, Houston also in prime position to pursue a younger Devin Booker. For now, Phoenix is trying to make it work with this big three. I feel like this has got bad vibes central written all over it. How does Phoenix go into this season with all these potential trades or whatever hanging over, and then you're going to say, no, but we're going to what? Go for it? When these guys have basically very little history together, sounds like very little trust with each other. This is a disaster. Good luck, Mike Budenholzer.
I think actually the Phoenix angle, I like it. I think they should really, really start to think about the next steps. To me, it's a much more interesting angle is the Rockets. Like if they had Durant or Booker, are they all of a sudden contender in the crazy, crazy West? They sort of take the place of Phoenix as the fifth or sixth best team. I think it's really interesting. The rest of the league must be on high alert. Like, wow, if Durant gets available, do I want him? If Booker gets available, do I want him? So I think this is a very interesting league-wide story. Unfortunately, I think Phoenix, I don't think there's any way out with this trio. I don't think they're going anywhere. I think you're kind of kicking a dead man here.
I know, but then why bring in Budenholzer, who was like the guy on the market who had won a title?
Well, if you have young players, Budenholzer probably would flourish with them in his system. I just think that maybe they try it this year. I'd do Durant now. I would not wait. Trade him and like rebuild immediately. Because Durant, I think you're hinting at Durant will be miserable and sort of force his way out anyway. So what are you doing?
Well, that's what I think. Just on base of what I've seen for the last 15 years.
Has it been that long? Has he been in the NBA that long? Yeah. Probably, yeah.
855-212-4227. All right, so bottom line, big night last night. Woj all over it. Mikal Bridges going to the Knicks. Perloff not worried. Sure. You're coping right now.
There's many, many bigger problems than the Knicks and Mikal Bridges.
Celtics fans should be a little worried, but they got their championship, so.
I feel like this is an early domino. We need something big today, Maggie. We we need a superstar traded today. Woj has got to get on the phone and do something for us here.
You don't think he's been on the phone? The guy's been up all night breaking news. And then the other part is major picks changing hands between Brooklyn, Houston, and Phoenix. Yada, yada, yada. It's to set up Houston to try to land a big superstar. And, oh, by the way, it could be Kevin Durant or it could be Devin Booker.
Yeah.
Did I basically get everything there? EJ, did I leave anything out? Got a thumbs up.
Again, just the beginning. Where are the Lakers?
Where's LeBron?
Where are my Sixers? Like, what are they? They have $60 million of cap and no players they like, apparently.
Bring back Tobias Harris.
Well, that picks.
I'm just kidding.
Tobias Harris is now all of a sudden the sign-in trades with Tobias Harris is like they could do a really big deal with him, like get a superstar. So all these assets out there, something big is going to happen today. Because Mikal Bridges, I think this is the appetizer. I think this is going to be an amazing NBA day. And I think Woj is out there brokering these deals. Because let's face it, he's the one who got Danny Hurley an interview with the Lakers. We all know that. We all know that, despite Danny Hurley's wife's objections. So now Woj has got to get out there. He just last night floated a Durant trade out of nowhere that apparently wasn't even accurate, according to himself. So I think he is the godfather of this league, and it's time that he really entertains me. I saw a stand-up of him at the draft yesterday. He's so calm during this whole thing. Like, that guy is so unusual. His whole demeanor, he's just like, his phone, you know that everybody is calling him, and he's got the same delivery no matter what he's reporting.
He's a robot.
He's totally a robot.
I don't know if there's a human under there. Him, Schefter, all these guys who do this for a living.
No, Schefter is like emotional compared to Woj. I feel like Woj is very mechanical. It's very interesting, his whole personality.
Tough life. I mean, listen, you get paid a lot for it, but I wouldn't do it. 855-212-4227. Although you could be wrong and it really doesn't matter. They're becoming like meteorologists a little bit. It's like, it's going to be partly cloudy. It's like, oh, torrential rainstorm? Well, what can I do? It's the NBA. It's the weather. Like, there's a little accountability. This whole Woj Shams thing just happened where these guys had so much stuff wrong. And what does it matter? The money's still green. The checks are still clearing.
I do not agree with that at all. I think Woj is on fire right now. I think Woj is a reporting miracle. The guy nobody breaks everything like Woj.
Shams broke the J.J. Redick thing long before Woj got there. And then our man Anthony Irwin really broke it.
I don't know. Watch today. I think Woj is, first of all, Woj is, how many headlines in a row has he broken? What's the last time? I haven't heard from Shams in days.
Can someone check on him? Wellness check on Shams?
Well, Shams,
wake up.
Shams jumped in second on Mikal Bridges. That's the thing, too.
Who cares about second?
Yeah.
That's not what this is about. All right. See you guys on the phones. Hang tight for a second because there's a LeBron James angle to this. And for everyone who just groaned, there is a LeBron James angle to this because how could there not be? And don't worry, Bronny's involved. 855-212-4227. So what is that connection? We're going to make that for you next. You're welcome to weigh in on what we saw last night and Houston being poised now to land a major, major star. It's Maggie Perloff. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining.
Oh, is that it?
One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. Big NBA day. We got it started last night with the Mikal Bridges trade from the Nets to the Knicks, a Houston Phoenix draft pick trade. I was a little disappointed when that broke. There were no players involved. I need names. I need to see what my Oklahoma City Thunder are going to do in the next 2 days to win the 2024-25 championship. I'm looking at Larry Markkinen for my Thunder. Did you know about that? That I'm all in on the Thunder now?
I know. You're breaking news to me that you're all in on Lauri Markkinen.
Oh, dude, he is the one piece. The more I read about this, there's 17 teams are dying to get him. Everybody else. And then everyone else is like, oh, this guy's too expensive. So Markkinen's my number one target today for whatever team he goes. I got a lot of teams in the hopper.
Clearly you got a lot of things cooking. And now there's a slightly bigger name besides Lauri Markkinen, no disrespect, LeBron James, who has a big decision to make, Perloff. Because, J.J. Redick is out there doing his introductory press conference, acting as if LeBron and Anthony Davis, Anthony Davis will be on the team, but acting as if LeBron is going to be on this team. And Rob Pelinka had to pump the brakes there and say, listen, with all due respect, like LeBron has until June 29th to figure out whether he's opting in or opting out. And actually the likelihood is he's going to be opting out. He's going to be looking for a new 3-year deal. Yep. And according to The Athletic and Sam Amick, who published a story yesterday, LeBron's going to take his sweet time figuring this out. So that's one potential aspect of this offseason, and I don't think we're talking enough about, which is where could LeBron be headed? And I know we've just gotten a call and they just dropped now, but EJ, the crux of it. Is LeBron potentially making a play to try to get himself to the Phoenix Suns with Bronny?
Well, that's the only tea leaves that I can pull from this from a LeBron angle, because you had these brawny workouts with the Suns that just seemed weird because you just because the story was like, well, maybe like Savannah James could travel to see Bronny James, but like that just seemed like a weird thing, and so it was like, why does that make sense? Well, if Kevin Durant trade is looming, maybe you could dump that salary so you can get out of that second apron, which basically handicaps you from making really any trades.
Yeah.
And then you could say, okay, we're going to draft Bronny James, and then you could find a way to go to Los Angeles and say, hey, we have now picks to use, we have money to use, we can then bring LeBron James over here, and you guys can now reshape your roster however you want with LeBron leaving. If LeBron forces his hand, he says, hey, I'm not coming back to the Lakers because they already drafted my son, then what are the Lakers going to do? You got to get something back for him, right? So that was only that thought when I saw this happen. I was like, well, maybe this is why that Bronny LeBron son stuff makes sense. And you had Rich Paul saying that LeBron's not going to play for the minimum in Phoenix. Well, the only way Phoenix can avoid signing him to the minimum would be to get one of these big salaries out so that they can bring him in for real money.
Right. I always thought the Phoenix angle was purely geographical. It was like, we want Bronny also to be somewhat close to L.A., easy for everyone to get to, and we know the Warriors are probably not going to do this thing for us, right?
Well, that was, I was wondering,
or Sacramento.
Why not the Warriors? For Bron, that's always been rumored, right? That
I think it's probably
a
a relationship thing. Like, I bet they don't. Maybe they don't have the relationship with maybe the Warriors aren't going to mess around. Like, they're not going to waste a second round pick on Bronny.
No, for LeBron, I was wondering. So if they don't re-sign Clay, then I don't know how they make.
They offered to trade for LeBron James at the trade deadline, famously, and LeBron said that he didn't want to go there.
Well, yeah, but maybe time has changed, and he's like, I got one more shot. I might as well go with Curry. And they're putting Kuminga out there today and the report is they'll trade Jonathan Kuminga for an All NBA level player. So
is that Paul George? If it's a sign and trade,
yeah, but with
the Clippers.
Yeah, I don't know why they would do that. I think LeBron would be more interested in that. But I wonder, there's got to be a lot of options. Phoenix, I would hate for LeBron to go to Phoenix because he's not going to win a title there, right? Like, what's the scenario how would that team win a title?
I don't know. I've never thought LeBron was really going anywhere else. But
he's more likely to stay in L.A., right?
Yeah, I mean, you got the whole entire organization whose like one goal in life is try to keep him happy. Which, if I'm a Laker fan, that probably bothers me a little bit. But you got the 55th overall pick where they can take his son. He just hired his podcast partner. Like, I mean, what are we doing here? It's like they've made this perfect little bed. Now all he has to do is lie in it. And he's really not going to? Like, why?
Well, also, he's got his Hollywood stuff. And his Hollywood company's completely blowing up. Spring Hill, it's dominating. It's becoming a real force. So that's the reason I don't think he's leaving LA. It's late career Kobe, right? Just have a good team and you're fine.
Okay, but then everyone will say, well, but LeBron really still wants to win. He still wants to win, and that's why he wants a 3-year deal, and he really wants to, he feels like he's still playing at a super high level. And this was a weird way they put it yesterday, again, in this Athletic article by Sam Amick. And tell me what you think about this. They said franchise cornerstones. That's how he labeled. There are franchise cornerstones that would like the Lakers to prove their desire to win by going all in for another star. Who's franchise cornerstones? I'd love to know. Is that like Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka?
It ain't Rui Hachimura.
I was like, is that like Magic Johnson and James Worthy? Like, who are the franchise? Like, are these luminaries? Are these?
I thought it was LeBron and AD.
Is it LeBron and AD?
Oh, that's the actual headline.
Sure.
LeBron and AD want to bring in a new star. I thought people just jumped to that assumption. You're right. It ain't Rui Hachimura. When they say superstar, is DeJounte Murray a superstar? Like, what level of superstar do they think they're going to get here?
I don't know. I feel like sometimes in the NBA, we're using the word superstar like supermodel. It's like, or porn star. It's like, just because you do porn doesn't mean you're a star. Just because you model doesn't mean you're a supermodel. And just because you're a star doesn't mean you're a superstar. You know what I'm saying?
I got in trouble with that in France, by the way. The whole model
thing?
No, the model thing. So Devin Brugman and Natasha Oakley walked by us from a restaurant, and I say, "Oh my God, Andre, there were 2 supermodels here." And she looks, and I tell her who it was. She's like, "Those aren't supermodels. Those are Instagram models."
I've never even heard
Which
of
then it got me in a whole nother conversation that I needed to get myself out of in 2 seconds with my new fiance. But yeah, so yes, there is a difference between a supermodel and an IG model, I guess.
So
I learned the hard way.
So you are keeping an extra set of eyes on who you're following now on Instagram. now
Well,
that
when
you're
I made that
engaged.
comment, and Andrea was very quick to be like, "Those are not supermodels," I say, "Oh, I got to be a little careful now."
I think you can follow them liking the photos.
Yeah, you can't like
You can't like them.
you can't be caught gawking
Yep.
on your on your feed while like those are the things you can't do.
I think you're right about that.
And again, these are things I've learned the hard way. Early, it's been 7 years.
That's okay. People like Daryl Morey are still learning this, and a lot of people in front offices. That was a deep cut. He once liked a picture of a woman wearing yoga pants. Okay, LeBron. We're putting together tea leaves here. Could Phoenix be a destination now that it looks like they're looking to move either Durant or maybe even Devin Booker?
The one thing you mentioned earlier, I think, is interesting about LeBron, Lakers, Suns, and all that whole trio is what happened with the Knicks because you said like this massive price they paid for Mikal Bridges.
5 first-round picks.
It's going to be a lot harder for any of these teams now, you would think, to do that. We saw what happened when the T-Wolves made that Rudy Gobert trade. It essentially put a freeze on the NBA for 2 years when it came to really big superstar trades. Kevin Durant was the only one that really went for a lot of picks.
And he forced it.
Right, and he really forced his way out.
Dame, but that was a little different.
Right, and I don't even think the picks were as exorbitant. It was. No. I don't think it was 4 first-round picks or 5 that the Knicks just gave up. So, it seemed like the Rudy Gobert trade kind of screwed up the trade market for a little bit, and then it fixed itself. And now I wonder if it does go back to what it was, where now maybe there's a hold on trades because of what just happened.
Yeah, I saw my Lakers writers on my Twitter feed were like, "Oh crap!" After the Mikal Bridges trade. I mean, it's a high price to get Mikal Bridges, who's a very, very good player, but oh man. There's just no way the Lakers get a superstar. There's just I don't care who these cornerstones are, a superstar, a real bona fide guy who's going to put you over the top for a championship. As you start off saying, it doesn't really feels comfortable for LeBron, but it doesn't feel like a way to chase another ring.
855-212-4227. If you want to call in, you're welcome to. If you want to watch the show, youtube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network, where Kaplan is on one today. He is mad at us. He said, go ahead and stop shaming. I'm shaming. If you
I don't feel one way or another about it. I just know how your significant other feels, and then now I'm like, all right, well that's how I feel.
See, I don't monitor my husband's social media because I trust him, right? But if I did, and then I found out that he was liking all these models' Instagram pages, I'd be like, why are you liking that? And then we'd have to talk about it, and then that sucks, right?
It's not a good conversation. Again, I'm telling you from experience.
Pat Boyle is here. Pat, I like your glasses, pal.
Thank you.
You look like you're ready to go to a shooting range.
Okay. That's the first time I've gotten that.
Like clay shooting.
Thanks.
They remind me of those kind of glasses. Really cool look. I like it.
That's not what I was going for, but I'll take
Try
it.
I guess. That could be your new thing. That could be your summer thing.
Olympics are coming up.
Listen,
is there skeet shooting in the Olympics?
Why not? You're young enough to pivot, side hustle as a
If the sports radio career doesn't work out, I'll definitely try clay disc shooting.
Listen, we need you here. That's not what I was saying. Maybe you have a side hustle where you become an Olympic skeet shooter.
Okay. All right, we're sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your family, your phone, and your furry friends with life, electronic device, and pet health insurance. You guys opened up with it the first summer blockbuster trade in the NBA. The New York Knicks have acquired Mikal Bridges from the Brooklyn Nets for a boatload of picks and the salary trade chip, Bojan Bogdanovic. The picks include 4 unprotected first-rounders, a protected 2025 first-round pick via the Bucks, a Knicks 2028 unprotected pick swap, and a 2025 second-round pick. The Knicks get back Brooklyn's 2026 second-round selection. So the Nova Knicks are now complete. 4 former Wildcats on the team with Brunson, DiVincenzo, Hart, and now Bridges.
Where's Ryan Arcidiacono?
Yeah, he's next. He was on the Knicks.
Yeah,
he used to be. I think he played a whopping half of a minute per game. Now they can fully focus on their 2 remaining free agents, OG Anunoby and center Isaiah Hartenstein. Be interesting to see if they can or will retain both players. Several reports stating that it is now increasingly unlikely that they will be able to keep Hartenstein. The Knicks can only offer a limited contract to him because they don't have his bird rights. Nets weren't done. You guys mentioned they then struck a deal with the Houston Rockets to exchange several picks. To keep it short and sweet, the Nets get their 2026 first-round pick back that they sent to Phoenix in the Durant deal. The Rockets get the Suns' 2027 first-rounder, and the big implication with Houston is that they are reportedly ready to offer a massive package for Kevin Durant or potentially Devin Booker. Woj, Shams, others reporting the Suns, though, they want to run it back after they got swept in the first round by the T-Wolves in the playoffs. But we have found out with Kevin Durant before, does not matter what you say in June or July. All that matters is what happens in the winter. Okay, on the court last night in the WNBA, the Minnesota Lynx are champs.
And Minnesota, 2024 Commissioner Cup champs in their first appearance, their first title.
That courtesy of Prime Video, the Lynx win the Commissioner's Cup, WNBA's in-season tournament. They beat the Liberty 94-89 at UBS Arena on Long Island. Nafisa Collier named MVP. She went for 21-6 in the winning effort. Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu both had double-doubles, combined for 47 points in the loss.
I don't know if you guys saw what happened with this Amazon Prime feed last night.
No.
Oh, no.
I tried to
It's
check
bugging?
in. I tried to check in after halftime because, watching the Mets blowing out the Yankees, that became a whole thing. But anyway, I wanted to watch the game. The feed is 10 seconds behind the audio. The audio is someone scoring baskets, and the audio feed is like 10 seconds behind. And I thought maybe, is this my Amazon or is this my Xbox? I go on Twitter, and everybody's complaining about it. That was a terrible look for the WNBA last night. Like, this is a massive game. It's, one of the spotlight games of the year, the Commissioner's Cup final, and you have an unwatchable game. I just didn't go back to it because I said, I can't do this.
Sometimes my Thursday night feed gets a little wonky for football for Amazon, but
but that 10 seconds behind.
Oh, that's unforgivable.
Listen, it was that bad. I'm not even exaggerating. It was about 10 seconds behind. I was like, I can't
Twitter,
do this.
was everybody's problem?
Yeah, multiple people kept saying, what's going on with this Amazon feed? Like, we're 10 seconds behind. I don't know if that was like that in the first half. I tuned in literally as the second half started, and I gave it a minute or two to see if they would fix it. It never got fixed. I'm sure maybe it got fixed at some point, but I just gave up. I said, I can't do this. This is ridiculous.
On all nights on the night of the Commissioner's Cup, too? Unbelievable.
Perloff
quick question. What the heck is the Commissioner's Cup? Is this another
It's their in-season tournament.
Oh, my God. Is it stupid?
They were doing it before the NBA. The NBA stole it.
Oh, whatever. Any in-season tournament stinks.
Okay, so here's my
Why?
question
That's
about
the best
this.
chance the Sixers have of winning the title.
That coming in strong. So it's extra money for the women, so you love that. Is this true though? I have saw it one place and I haven't been able to confirm it that they also get like $5,000 in crypto. Did you guys see that?
I did not know
We're
that.
still giving out crypto.
That's what I was like. What are you trying to ruin these girls? Don't do that. These women. Don't give them the crypto.
I can't
we
follow
back on
crypto.
crypto?
Sometimes it sounds like it's done. Then sometimes they're saying, "Oh, it's back." But
it's
then
hot now, right?
Right, but I don't know if that's all propaganda.
If Tom Brady loses $30 million doing something, that's probably a good example to not do that.
But
not invest in
Steph
cryptocurrency.
Curry's he's still in court trying to get out of these lawsuits.
If you need to hire a hitman on the dark web, crypto is the way to go, though. I've been reading a lot about that.
Why have you been reading a lot about that?
Because
no.
every third Netflix documentary is some family guy trying to hire a hitman on the dark web. And I just watched the movie Hitman, which was the same thing on Netflix as well with, what's his name? Glenn Powell?
Well, as somebody
Which is
who sits
awesome.
5 feet away from you,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't love that you're looking at hitmen
No,
on the
I
dark
was
web.
worried. I know I got after him during that Knicks Sixers series. I'm like, oh, here's the payback's coming.
Do you guys have streaming services at home? 70% of it is murder stories. So there's a lot of Bitcoin involved. And
Okay.
when you're killing somebody, Bitcoin is your friend.
See, I think that's the opposite. All these people feel like they're getting caught, where it's just like you pay what you think is a hitman on the dark web.
Yep.
And they're like, all right, give me $20,000 and, get $20,000 after it's done. And then that person just goes right to the police.
Yeah, or they are police.
Yes.
But if you are going to pay that person, you have to pay in Bitcoin.
Well, haven't we learned anything? Cash is king. Cash is untraceable.
We learned Costco's doing gold. Is that coming back?
Pay your hitman in gold.
In gold and rotisserie chickens.
I don't know. I mean, what else is Bitcoin for? I still don't understand. I mean, we're 20 years in on this thing, and I don't have the slightest idea what Bitcoin is.
It's probably better that way,
The
honestly.
biggest thing that made me not get into cryptocurrency is when my Uber driver was telling me that he was so rich in crypto. And I kept thinking to myself, well, then why are you driving an Uber?
Exactly.
Well, everybody
And
needs somewhere to get up and go.
I know. I felt bad because he seemed like such a great guy, and he was trying to convince me. He's like, "Hey, let me get your email. I'll send you the information on all these coins."
Yeah, I think that's the moral of the story. It could have been any job that doesn't necessarily pay a lot, and somebody said, "Yeah, I'm rich on crypto."
Well, I
Bro,
mean,
I got to get you on crypto, bro.
Bitcoin's at $61,279 right now. So
But what does that mean?
that means if you sell it, if you bought it at $20,000 6 years ago, and you can sell it tomorrow and make hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I know, but sometimes I feel like, especially when this was kind of crashing, There were stories of people who wanted to sell their Bitcoin and get out, and they couldn't.
I think you could sell it now.
It's the thing with me, people actually want to use it as currency. How can you use something as currency that is so volatile, that is so volatile like that? One day it's worth, like you said, $61,000 for one coin. The next day it's worth $50, or in a couple weeks it's worth $50.
I know. Well, we're
Spencer
lucky.
Dinwiddie, I think his whole salary, I think, is in crypto. The
Took
contract.
a lot of it.
Oh.
Odell, too. Odell Beckham.
Odell as well.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, speaking of football, we got our first trailer from the off-season pre-training camp Hard Knocks debut, which features the New York Giants. Inside that trailer, most of it pretty boring. You did get a little something juicy from Joe Shane, the Giants GM.
Saquon, can you give me your word on that, or are you not going to give us a chance?
My job is to do what's best for the franchise.
So there you go. And that comes after Saquon Barkley saying he never got an offer from the New York Giants. We'll see if that's maybe we'll see if that's the truth or not.
Do you know what was on the other end of that line? I'm sorry, sir, you have the wrong number. This is a pizza delivery shop. There's no way Saquon Barkley's on the other end of that phone call.
I tell you what, the fact that we always talk about it, and you make the point all the time, Pearl, that the teams control what gets out.
Yeah.
The fact that the Giants want this to get out, this is going to get messy when it comes to just like Saquon's post career in terms of how much he gets ironed as a Giant. Like this was not a warning shot. This was a you are dead to us thing from the Giants.
Well, there's another thing about that trailer. I said before, I was down on this offseason Hard Knocks. I'm like, it's going to be the same thing we see all over the place, which is a GM in his draft room taking calls. Guess what? 32 other teams have the same video out of their GM taking calls. Like, this stuff's everywhere. There's no reason for Hard Knocks. We get this stuff every day, don't we? Don't we see behind the scenes of every NFL team?
Yeah, for most of them. The Saquon thing I think is going to be interesting
I
because
don't
there's somebody
think so.
lying here about that. And
Yeah,
then,
and that's reportedly a phone call that's happening between them. So you're hearing, we never hear the interactions. We never see what is said between parties usually.
It's not
usually
gonna-
it's
just what's
GM to
reported
GM.
on. Yeah.
This is not going to deliver. I'm telling you guys that right now, it is not going to deliver.
I bet you it will.
I'll bet you anything that was a false promo.
Do some baseball stuff next hour.
Let's do that. Thank you so much, Pat. Appreciate it. We've got so much more to do, including, fighting words. One stakeholder in college football, just putting it all out there. We've got a lot to get to. So much happening today. It's Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Speaking his mind, saying Brady was out of line. Should've known better, should've thought twice before agreeing to that roast. It ain't right, talking about his ex-wife crossing the line. Clear the line, he says someone needs to find. The children shouldn't have to hear all of that. It's not fair to them, it's a matter of fact. Brady, you messed up. It's time to face the truth. Hear the lie, he won't forgive you. That's the truth.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining.
Live it through, if the face the truth. Hear the lie, he won't forgive you. That's the proof.
One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie Perloff. Coming up at the top of the hour, our pal Andy Staples is going to join us from On3, amazing college football writer and opinionist. EA Perloff put out their top 25 toughest stadiums to play in college football, and we have some issues with that list.
Wait, I have a question. Does this actually affect the play in the game? Like,
yes.
That's what it's supposed to be. Like,
right.
It's supposed to be the hardest on your opponent,
Right.
like a true home field advantage for the home team.
Right, it handicaps your team when you have to go to these places. Okay, so
And-
this is important stuff.
No doubt. And also on the flip side, we're going to do a little twist on this with our top 5 stadiums. I have them, and I think Andy does too, of places that should have a better home field advantage that don't.
Ooh.
So we're calling people out today. That comes your way at the top of the hour. So meanwhile, we have football to get to. One of our favorite teams to talk about are the San Francisco 49ers because they are awesome and also an endless sort of fountain of sometimes drama, Perloff, and the latest is with Brandon Aiyuk. Now, we got some more details on what's been going on with Aiyuk and the 49ers over the last couple days. He asked for the meeting. So he is in a contract situation, dispute, I guess, with the 49ers, did not show up to all the voluntary and mandatory OTA stuff. Training camp is still about a month away. Not sure if he's going to show up there. Clearly, he doesn't want to play on the last year of his rookie deal. He wants to get a new contract, and it looks like the 49ers are clearly dragging their feet on that. So he did a interview with Ryan Clark on his podcast, brought Jaden Daniels with him to that interview. They were college teammates at Arizona State. Now Jaden Daniels looks like he's going to be the starting quarterback for the Washington Commanders, who's just drafted. But Aiyuk asking for the meeting with the 49ers and yet nothing coming of it yet. What did you make of that?
You know, I feel like they're not gonna get on the same page. It's gonna be 1 year of Aiyuk there, kind of like an all-in year with the Niners, because I don't see how if he has to go in there personally, like they're not intent on paying him $28 million a year. They just clearly, to me, this said they don't want to do it, and he is trying to find a way to get them to do it, and they won't do it. It didn't feel like the start of a long-term solution to me. Maybe I'm wrong and they will sign a deal, but it feels like they don't want to do what he wants to do.
I agree with you on that. Now, I don't know if you have a better shot, though, besides just a compensatory pick that you would get if he leaves after a year. Is there a trade out there so that he doesn't just walk away for a comp pick and you could actually get something back legitimate for Brandon Aiyuk? Also, because that's what I would do if I were in John Lynch's shoes, if I really am not planning on paying him. However, can I give you and bring something to your attention that I had not realized until I read this from David Lombardi, who covers the 49ers for The Athletic. Brandon Aiyuk and Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's success throwing over 20-plus yards and outside the numbers. Aiyuk is his most efficient receiver over the last 2 seasons, and according to Lombardi, an integral component to Brock Purdy's success. The rapport between the two is notable and apparent in every advanced metric. So a deep dive into Purdy, who you know they're keeping, who they love, who Kittle is saying walking around like he's the man now, confidence is growing, all that stuff. If you dive into the numbers, it has been the Purdy-Aiyuk connection that has been the most efficient and one of the most fruitful. Does that change your opinion about paying Aiyuk at all?
Not for a half a second. You draft Ricky Pearsall, just throw him in that position, whatever. Who cares? It's a receiver. There's 100,000 of them. And by the way, the same way, I don't agree with that. You have to trade him now to get something. Why 1 year of Brandon Aiyuk is incredibly valuable. They need to win a Super Bowl right now. Who cares about bleep those picks?
Yeah.
Like this is, I would not trade him for a first round pick. Actually, you probably couldn't get a first round pick. Why would you trade him now for a second round pick? Isn't 1 year of Brandon Aiyuk a very valuable thing? Same with T. Higgins in Cincinnati. Why would you give him up for a second round pick? You might as well take the third round comp pick.
Well, that might be one aspect of it, but you might be able to get a player back in some kind of a trade too. And by the way, when you're paying everybody top dollar, whether they're going to pay Purdy, Bosa, Debo, Christian McCaffrey just got a raise. Fred Warner makes a lot of money. You got a lot of expensive guys.
Sure.
Those draft picks become super important. Trent Williams, those draft picks become super important because that's how you fill out the rest of your roster. You need a lot of production from those guys. And I guess, here's the thing. If I'm looking at this as the 49ers, I have so much pressure to get back to the Super Bowl, and history has not been kind to the Super Bowl loser.
Right.
So it's really hard for that team. It's just the way that this goes to get back to the Super Bowl. And so you're going to go all in 1 year on Aiyuk. Are you absolutely sure that you were even making it back to the Super Bowl?
Well, I wouldn't. I understand what you're saying. That's a reality, but I don't think they can think like that. They can't afford to think like that. They have been at the doorstep now for the most part of 4 years. They have to say, this is it. There's no way I would take a second round pick for him. I understand. You're right. They do have to rebuild. They're actually a very good late round drafting team as well, so they might not need that high of a picks. I would keep him and maybe try and get a bargain with him. It's going to be impossible. Maybe he'll love it there. I doubt it. He seems like he wants to get paid. I mean, you really, if right now somebody said, I'll give you next year's second round pick for Brandon Aiyuk, you would do it? I think that'd be crazy.
I don't know, because if I'm the general manager, I got to think about now, but I also have to think about the future.
Oh, not in San Francisco. You got to do it now. You got to compete for a Super Bowl today. There is no future, Maggie.
It's no tomorrow. 855-212-4227. Maggie and Perloff. All right, coming up, the top 25 hardest places to play in college football. Did EA get it right?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Well, you want to get people mad at you? Put out a list of the top 25 toughest places to play in college football. Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. EA, Electronic Arts, has they put out their college football game, Perloff. I know, EJ, we're going to lose them to this game like very, very soon.
Oh, yeah.
And we're never going to see him again. And
nice knowing you, EJ.
Thank you for producing the show for as long as you did. But this is something that they always did with the game, right? This was a feature where the home field advantage would show itself in certain ways, right? Where like receivers will drop certain passes, or you're not as good, or a freshman quarterback maybe gets a little bit more rattled. They always try to build in these little touches to try to make the game as real as possible. So on the way to doing that, Pearl, they made a top 25 list of the toughest college football environments to play in, and this just made everybody mad.
Oh, yeah.
So we want to go to somebody who has not only been to all of these stadiums multiple times over multiple different eras, and that is our pal Andy Staples of On3. Andy, I love it. You had to make your own list just to refute the EA list, and we'd expect nothing less. Thanks for getting up early with us.
Yeah, I saw their list, and number one is Kyle Field at Texas A&M. I'm like, Kyle Field's a fun place to watch a game, and it's really loud, but it ain't number one. You can't have that.
How do you think they arrived at that, Andy? Because your opinion there is pretty standard that Kyle Field, no disrespect at A&M, should not be number one on this list.
I think they said, we're trying to sell video games, so let's put out a rage bait list that people will talk about. And so on my old show, I had a ranking system, and it is the only time I would do rankings because I hate doing rankings. I do them now, but we had the Andy Staples Show computer laptop organized win nexus, and you can figure out what that spells if you want to. But the rules for the ranking were, if Texas is supposed to be better than Texas A&M, you rank Texas A&M one spot higher than Texas. If Michigan just beat Ohio State, you rank Ohio State one spot higher than Michigan. If Notre Dame is supposed to be good, you don't rank Notre Dame at all. If Notre Dame is supposed to be mediocre to bad, you rank them in the top 5.
Right.
Like, I think maybe that's what happened.
It's a formula,
here.
Wait, but
yeah.
Andy, though, Kyle Field is, I've been in a few of these. It's so far and away the loudest stadium I've ever been in my life. It's like a sonic jet in your ear the whole time. I don't know what they do there. I think it's the loudness, right? It's crazy. The acoustics. It's. I've been to a game where I couldn't hear the person next to me at all the entire time.
When they expanded it a few years ago, they fully enclosed it because the previous iteration of Kyle Field did not have completely closed-in end zones, and so it was loud but not as loud. And now it is incredibly loud. I had Kyle Field at number 7, so it's not like I didn't think it's a tough place to play. But I was going back through the years and thinking, okay, when did Kyle Field win Texas A&M a game? And maybe the 2021 Alabama game. I think I'll give them credit for that. But like, I was at the 2016 Tennessee game, which is a double overtime game, one of the best, most fun games you'll see. And I don't think the stadium was affecting Tennessee as much as the team on the field was. And that was my other issue with EA Sports' list is they had Ohio Stadium number 4 and Sanford Stadium number 5. So Ohio State and Georgia. Those are very cool stadiums. Like Ohio Stadium, the Horseshoe, 105,000 people. It's like you're walking into a monument to college football. But it's actually pretty quiet for 105,000 people. It's incredibly tough to play at Ohio Stadium because Ohio State is always good because you're always playing against a bunch of future first rounders. Ditto for Georgia right now. Like, Georgia's the toughest place to play in America because Georgia plays there. But Sanford Stadium is not a more intimidating environment than Tiger Stadium at LSU, than Beaver Stadium at Penn State, than the Swamp at Florida. Like, and like the Swamp's a good, and people are like, oh, you went to Florida. That's why you said, no. The reason the Swamp's on that list is when Florida's good, it is louder and more intimidating than any place in the country. Not necessarily because of the passion of the fans, although they are very passionate, but because of architecture. Like, right. So in 1930, the stock market had just crashed. Great Depression has started. They had to privately fund the stadium. They didn't have any money. So they had a coach who had worked at Notre Dame, and he's like, can you just send the plans for that stadium y'all are building, and we'll just build that? And so the Bowl of Florida Field is actually Notre Dame Stadium, which if you read the list, it ain't on my list because Notre Dame Stadium is not loud or intimidating, and they actually yell at the fans for cheering sometimes, the older season ticket holders. But what Florida did when they started to expand, instead of just stacking some decks on top of the original, they just built the thing straight up. So they just go straight up and down, and it's fully enclosed. It's 90,000 people, but you could drop that stadium into the footprint of your average 65,000 seat NFL stadium. So it's all those people packed into this little tight space, and the noise has nowhere to go. And so it gets incredibly loud, which is the same, like Tiger Stadium at LSU, same general concept. Autzen Stadium in Oregon is another one where architecture matters. Like it's 60,000 people that sounds like 100,000. And I don't know if it's because of the way they built it, where the middle parts of the wings are higher than the other parts and it just bounces off each other. But like when they crank up the Joker and the Thief by Wolfmother and that duck rides on the field on the motorcycle, like it is loud.
Andy Staples joining us from On3. We're reacting to EA, Electronic Arts. They make video games, obviously. They put out a list of the top 25 toughest stadiums to play in. And this is not just like atmosphere and ambiance. It's like actually impacting your opponent, right? And, you know, creating false starts and creating bad penalties and stuff like that, intimidating players. They put Kyle Field at Texas A&M 1, Bryant-Denny Stadium at Alabama 2, Tiger Stadium at LSU 3. Andy, you mentioned Ohio Stadium at Ohio State is 4, and then Sanford Stadium at Georgia is 5. That rounds out the top 5. Which fan base do you think really has an issue and has legitimate beef with this list? However fabricated you might think the list is, but which fan base do you think really has a legitimate gripe today?
The Auburn fans. The Jordan-Hare Stadium, when Auburn is good, when the game is big, there are days where it feels like the 85 Bears couldn't come in and win there. Like I remember covering a game there in 2017. Georgia's number 1. They come in there and it's like, oh, no. Within 2 minutes, you know they're not winning. You know they have no chance. I think they lost that game 40-17. Like it was all Auburn. And then 2 weeks later, Alabama comes in, and this is the Alabama team that ended up winning the national title that year, and they had no chance in that stadium. And that Jordan-Hare can get like that. Now, the reason I didn't have Jordan-Hare number 1, and I think I had it number 4, is because sometimes New Mexico State comes in there and beats them. And your stadium should be intimidating to New Mexico State. You shouldn't let that happen. But the energy does tend to flag based on the opponent. So you get demerits for that.
Also, Jordan-Hare, it feels very intimate in the sense that the crowd is right on top of the field. Is that a big factor for these? Like, I feel like even Michigan, the Big House, it's just too big in a way where Jordan-Hare feels more intimate.
The Big House is just so wide. Yep. Now, the two that are just ultra claustrophobic is when I was talking about the Florida field, that's another thing is the stands are right on you. They actually had to put visiting fans in the first few rows behind the visiting sideline because that's where Florida's student section is. And it would get pretty nasty if there weren't some visiting fans right next, because they are so close to the sideline. But the place that is most claustrophobic, added number 10, is Oklahoma State. It feels like the fans are like 6 inches away from the sideline. And they've got these paddles. The people hang over the front row with these paddles and they're smacking them on the wall the whole time. Like it's nuts. And this part of the beauty of college football is all of these places are so different and they all have their own little quirks. But the paddle thing, they're already that close to you, and now they're swinging things.
What a visual. Okay, so we also, while we're talking about the top 25 toughest places to play in college football, EA put out their list. Our pal Andy Staples, who's joining us from On3, put out his competing list. And then I wanted to flip this a little bit on its head because, for all the places that are so intimidating to play, Andy, I feel like there's a few places that should be more intimidating, quite frankly. And sometimes this goes through eras a little bit. Teams go up and down. But I put together a list of top 5. I would like your list, if you have it, on places that should be more intimidating, Perloff, but are not. Do you want to go first, Andy?
Okay. Well, I mean, Notre Dame would be the first on my list because of the history and everything. Now, here's the thing. If you have a chance to go to a game at Notre Dame Stadium, by all means, go. It's a beautiful campus. The history's unbelievable. But if you think you're going to be in an environment like Penn State or like LSU, it's not like that. It's a much more genteel. They've gotten better. They've gotten better. And like our friend Mike Golick Jr., who played at Notre Dame, jokes that when he played, and he's not actually joking, they're serious. Like they said, you guys can pick one song and we'll play that one song on third downs over and over. Like that was what they did. The game management is much better now. It's
what
more fun
entertainment.
like they make sure you have more fun, and they've told the fan, like the older fans, they told them to stop yelling at people for cheering. So it's getting there, but that's the one where you think, okay, it should be just crazy, and it's not.
Yeah. Okay, you can tell me what you think of this list, and I don't want to get myself in trouble here, but again, this is through different eras. I know, I'm going to. Let me do this as a top 5, and I'm going to go 5 to 1 here. So stadiums that should be louder, according to me, that should be more intimidating. Miami. University of Miami. I think once upon a time, this was a very difficult place to play, but I think it's almost like what you said about Georgia. It was intimidating because you had to play Miami. Like, good luck playing Ray Lewis.
I'll push back on that because as a child living in the Florida Keys in the 80s, I did go to some University of Miami home games at the Orange Bowl, and it's because the Orange Bowl was a different animal than Hard Rock Stadium, but I still call it Joe Robbie Stadium, whatever the stadium they're playing in now, where the Dolphins play.
Yeah, it's a dump.
It does not have the same mystique.
Yes.
The Orange Bowl was tough.
So I'm going to go now. Where Miami plays now. Was a Hard Rock Stadium? Whatever. Okay.
You could die about 5 ways at the Orange Bowl because I honestly, if lightning hit any part of that stadium, I've been there many times. Like, you're probably a goner.
I've been there for Dolphins games, but I think Miami now should be harder. I know EJ's mad at me already about this one. Number 4 on my list would be Syracuse. The Dome. The Dome should be a more intimidating place to play. It's not, because Syracuse football has fallen off quite a bit. Number 3, I also had Notre Dame. Notre Dame should be way more of a home field advantage. Number 2, I had the Coliseum, who I will always stump for the Coliseum, but again, at one point I think it was intimidating, but was that because it was Pete Carroll, Matt Leinart, and Reggie Bush? Not so much about the Coliseum. And then number 1 on the list, and this is going to make people mad, but Nebraska. They've got all the sellouts and all of that, but is it the real home field advantage? The fans there are unreal. I've been there. I've seen it, but shouldn't it lead to a little more winning? There you go.
Hey, the best fans in America walk through those gates. It says it right there on the wall. And they are great. But I think a lot of that is they just haven't had a lot to cheer about in the last 10 years or so. Because I had Nebraska on my list. I've been to Nebraska games where they're pumped and they're excited, and it's a good environment. And one of the things about the video game, and the reason I did the list the way I did and didn't have Georgia and Ohio State as high, I had them on the list, obviously, but I didn't have them as high as EA did, is I was thinking about it in terms of if you're playing the video game, they have a thing called Dynasty mode. And a lot of people play in that mode, and you pick a team basically, and you are the coach of that team for years and years. And like, you turn any team you want into a national title contender. So the way I was picturing these stadiums when I was making the list is this is the best version of each team in the stadium because you're playing dynasty mode and you've turned them into a national title. Now, when the game drops, my dynasty mode team is going to be the Louisiana Monroe Warhawks.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you guys know this. They got a quarterback transfer this summer from Oklahoma. His name is General Booty.
Yeah.
His first name on his birth certificate is General. His last name on his birth certificate is Booty.
Is he a Booty?
So I'm going to have General Booty lead the Warhawks to the national title.
Is he John David Booty's?
Yeah, which one is he son of?
Son, nephew, something.
He is Abram Booty's son. Abram Booty, former LSU receiver. Josh Booty, former LSU receiver. John David Booty, former USC quarterback. Yes, all the same family.
Yeah.
Freeport royalty.
Hey, Andy, I want to ask about one team that you did not have on your list. I was surprised. I don't think you had him, and it wasn't that high in the A. What about Clemson and the Rock and all that? I felt like
we agreed on Clemson. I had Clemson 13 and they had Clemson 12.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, Clemson is an interesting one because Memorial Stadium, one of the two stadiums nicknamed Death Valley. LSU's the other one. And it really looks like Clemson. It looks like a valley. It's got these two big wings coming out, and you're in this beautiful, grass field underneath. But the thing is that the thing that allows them to have the coolest entrance in college football, where they're running down that hill after they rub that rock, it also lets all the noise escape. That open end zone just lets all the noise escape.
Okay. Because I was thinking you're out in the middle of nowhere in South Carolina, and it feels intimidating with all that orange. I'm very intimidated by colors.
It's intimidating when Christian Wilkins is running around and Trevor Lawrence is throwing passes, and it's very intimidating then.
And what about the whiteout in Penn State, and sort of just talk about Penn State when it's hopping?
Penn State is a very loud. It's the loudest Big Ten environment. It's 107,000 people. The whiteout is very, they usually put them at night. Like the last whiteout I covered was Michigan. I think it was 2017, and it is very loud. Is it, the really good SEC environments are very similar, but Penn State can do that most of the time. And it doesn't have to be a night game at Penn State. Like they can go nuts during the day too. It's just one of those places that they take it very seriously. And like they have the student section in one end zone. And I think piloting an offense toward that end zone has got to be one of the hardest things to do in college football, because it is just this wall of noise that you're working into. And they've got the one area, and even in the whiteout, they have this where they have the S. So they have some people wearing blue and some people wearing white, so that there's an S for the old Penn State logo. And I just that has to be the most intimidating letter of the alphabet when you're trying to bring your offense into that end zone.
Well, why can't they beat Ohio State or Michigan then?
Ohio State and Michigan had very good players.
There you go. Last one for you, Andy. The school that did not make the EA list and did not make your list, I believe, is Deion Sanders' Colorado Buffaloes. They get a lot of airtime. And obviously with Deion, it's taken it to a whole new level. Could Deion turn Colorado into one of the most intimidating places to play?
Oh, you saw the Nebraska game last year. You saw the Colorado State game last year. It was crazy. That's a great stadium. That's a very cool stadium. They have a live bison running down the field before the game, for God's sake. Like, it's fantastic. So, yeah, that's one of those that you can definitely get to that point. It's just, we're not used to seeing Colorado being good right now. It's been, in the 90s under Bill McCartney, in the 80s, they were very good. And so we've only seen that environment really excited a couple times. They won the Pac-12 South one year, and then last year with Deion. But yeah, you keep having everybody show up and do that, then yeah, it's gonna make those lists.
Yeah, you just need The Rock to show up to all of your home games, and then you'll get that. Andy Staples,
and Lil Wayne.
Lil Wayne, better go to that Lil Wayne concert, or else you're off the team. If Shador is going to be rapping, apparently that story ended up not being true. Andy Staples on 3, one of our good pals. Thank you so much for doing this, Andy, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. Andy Staples is the best.
Yeah, it's so funny. It gets you fired up for college football. You know what? An important part of my ranking would be if you have a live predator running around your stadium. I think basically Auburn, that hawk that goes through, that's real, and it's real close to the fans. Like if that thing ever decided to turn on you, watch out. So I think the threat of death at a stadium is an important thing.
You know what? You should do your list, an all predator predator list.
Yeah, and wait, what's the most dangerous mascot? Like that Colorado Buffalo. Like if that thing ever got mad,
Bevo has got to be dangerous too.
Yeah,
in Texas.
Oh, those horns are insane.
Yeah,
that'd be another good rank. We should get
worse.
Andy on that because Andy knows this stuff like the back of his head. The most dangerous mascots.
Not Uga.
Yeah, Uga is the cutest. If we do the cutest mascots, Uga is number one.
Uga took a bite out of an Auburn player. Remember back in the day? So.
I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah. Auburn player came down the sidelines and Uga wanted all the smoke. So don't sleep on Uga, even though he's sleeping a lot on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Now, they're on like the 15th iteration of it.
Florida doesn't have a live alligator anywhere near the stadium, do they? They should.
I don't think so.
I would freaking hope not.
The swamp is already tough enough. They bring an alligator.
I don't know. I mean, why not?
What do you have? One of those people come out at halftime where they like hypnotize them?
Steve Irvin's son. He's going to be like the pseudo second mascot for the team.
It's probably a high day rate for that guy. 855-212-4227. All right, lots to do. We have a feud going on that nobody saw coming. We also have some major NBA news from last night. Not sure if you were awake during this whole thing, but moves were being made, and now superstars could be getting traded. We'll tell you all the latest next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie Perloff. We're just breaking down EA Sports list of the toughest home environments for the video game, and it's causing a lot of controversy. My alma mater, Dartmouth College, did not make it. Not
Snub.
It's total snub. Your alma mater, George Washington University.
Yeah. They're still waiting on that football program.
Oh, there's no football team at all?
No, I'm curious, though. Pat Boyle is in today for Andrew Bogish. And, Pat, you're a massive Notre Dame fan. And not only is Notre Dame not on these lists, Notre Dame's like getting clowned because people are looking at it. It's not really this great home field advantage. Do you have a rebuttal for that?
I've been to one Notre Dame home game when they played USC. It was Keaton Slovis was the quarterback, so this was like 3 years ago. And they
that could have
crushed
been 8 years ago.
Yes,
Keaton
Keaton
Slovis has
Slovis.
been in the college football since I was a kid.
They crushed them. They destroyed them. Notre Dame has fans all across America.
Right.
So when they play at MetLife, when they play
Got it.
anywhere across the country, Notre Dame's fan base will outrank any other fan base.
So they're
I
actually
don't really
better
care.
away
Yeah,
from
I don't really care
South
about
Bend.
any kind of home field advantage. I haven't been to any SEC stadiums. I haven't been to any Big 12 stadiums, so I can't speak for them.
Right.
But when I went to the USC Notre Dame game, it was loud the entire time. There was never a moment where I felt like, oh, wow, this is kind of a tame. And Notre Dame wasn't even that good that year.
Right.
So I disagree. I don't care about EA Sports' stupid list anyway.
I care about the list because it's going to affect my gaming when I play in a couple of weeks.
You got to
Feel
keep
like,
this in mind.
I hate to do this to you, Pat. Feels like there's a lot of pressure on your Notre Dame Fighting Irish this year. A lot of pressure.
What's the pressure?
Like it's now or never, right? I mean, this has got to be the year. No?
Now or never for who? Marcus Freeman?
For Marcus Freeman, for
No.
the whole program. Like they haven't been ranked this high in forever. Like they got to start winning at some point, right?
Well,
then maybe there'll be a better home
They've been to
field.
the college football playoff like 50 to 60% of the time that's happened.
Oh, really? I feel like there's a lot of like now or never for Notre Dame.
Well, who'd they run into last time? Alabama, right?
They run into Alabama or
Yeah.
Clemson every time they make it. So
Yeah.
they're not the best team in college football. They're top 3 or 4, every other year basically.
I think you're going to get some help, too, from having the playoff expand to 12 because Notre
definitely.
Dame's schedule is always hard, and I think that's going to matter.
I think they've had the top recruiting class or near the top recruiting class twice, and like he better start winning at a high level. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think he's under pressure.
Interesting.
I agree.
855-212-4227. We're on in South Bend. Curious how people are thinking about it in the homeland. Pat, what else you got today? You're doing updates for us. What's going on in the world?
That is correct. So, sorry about that. Yeah, the big trade in the NBA last night. Well,
Let's talk
two of
about
them,
it.
but one of them obviously including a player or players, and that's the New York Knicks. They've acquired Mikal Bridges from the Brooklyn Nets for a boatload of picks and Bojan Bogdanovic, whose $19 million salary this upcoming season was the salary trade chip going back to Brooklyn. So the Nova Knicks are complete. 4 former Wildcats. All we need is, like you said, Ryan Arcidiacono and a couple of other walk-ons at the end of the
What's Chris
bench.
Jenkins doing?
I'm going to be honest. I know Chris Jenkins really the key and linchpin to this whole thing. But, if I were Tom Thibodeau, while this is great and your team definitely got better, I'd be like, what's going on around here? Jay Wright sitting out here totally 100% available. And, outside of the Knicks, we had a lot of this conversation when like guys were dropping like flies. We're like, is Thibodeau running these dudes into the ground, and are they not healthy enough by the end of the season? Yada yada. I don't know if they were having that conversation inside the building because I know Leon Rose, the head of the Knicks, and Tom Thibodeau are thick as thieves. But you kind of like. This is not nothing.
Well, they did hire a world-renowned, like basically injury specialist, a guy who used to be the head medicine guy for the Mavericks, Team USA, who's been credited for keeping the Mavs healthy and keeping USA healthy.
Yeah.
The Knicks just hired him. So
your legs have to be attached to your body for him to be able to work
so
his
whether
magic.
that's-
So I don't know if Tibbs can do anything.
Well, it's a good thing Mikal Bridges has played every single game in
He
his
doesn't miss a
NBA
game,
career, so he will be tested. He will be pushed to the absolute limits.
Did they just extend Thibodeau like a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, what does that matter?
Also,
I don't. Go ahead.
People close to Jay Wright say the chances of him returning to coaching are 0%, 0.0 according to Seth Davis. Like that is, we keep saying Jay Wright, and he says, "No thanks, I'm not interested at all." I'll bet you, and I'll do any bet. There's no way Jay Wright is coaching the Knicks.
All right, you want to shave the eyebrow?
I agree. I agree, and I see obviously the sentiment. Like just brought in basically his entire national championship winning team, but. Think about this. The Knicks are now at the level of a championship contender. So if Tibbs proves he can't win in the postseason, which is a fair criticism of him so far, at that point, wouldn't the pivot be to another experienced NBA head coach rather than a college coach?
Yeah, but where are these guys? Like you just saw with the Lakers, it might not be that easy to get a guy to come in to be the finishing piece. They're going with JJ
Kenny
Redick.
Atkinson was available. The Cavs hired him. Sam Cassell, a guy who has multiple years of experience. But no, we're going to, Lakers choose to hire JJ Redick.
Why don't you believe that Jay Wright doesn't want to coach? He
Because
keeps saying it.
Everybody says that, and a lot of times guys come back. And I think that there is something about, we talked about this with Dan Hurley about the Laker job.
Yeah.
It's like, well, he wants to coach in the NBA. He said that, but he didn't want the Lakers because either they lowballed him or he was using them for leverage or whatever. But like if that Knicks job becomes open, like there's a Knicks angle here that probably sounds very weird for the rest of the country because the Knicks have been a laughingstock for quite a while. But there is some kind of appeal, I think, for that coaching job, Madison Square Garden, all that stuff.
Really? For Jay Wright? I mean, how many times did Kentucky try and get him? How many times? I mean, the Lakers, if they knew Jay Wright was available, would have thrown a Brinks truck at him.
Well, maybe not, because Mark Stein did say, the NBA reporter, thought that maybe Jay Wright could be an option, but are they going to make him the highest paid coach?
Well, then the
Lakers don't do that.
Jay Wright's camp came out and said I have zero interest in the Lakers job. I think Jay Wright. I mean, I think Kentucky's tried to make him the highest paid coach in the land, and he's like, no way, I'm not coming back for anything.
Kentucky's not the Knicks.
I'll be real. I mean, it's a bizarre world. Knicks job's better than the Lakers in Kentucky.
Kentucky,
Easy.
I think, is just
really?
unique.
Yeah,
Kentucky
Dolan.
is super unique because you have.
You get paid well if you work for Dolan.
Get paid well, but here's the thing. It's like a lot of people's reputations don't leave better off after you've been with the Knicks, but we'll see if they've actually turned that part of it around. I think that Kentucky comes with a unique pressure that not even the Knicks and the Lakers has. Because I think the fan base is, well, we know we have Big Dave in Kentucky who calls us. There is a different kind of fandom that exists with that Kentucky program than even the Lakers.
And with the Lakers and Kentucky, there's an expectation that is unrealistic that they're going to win a title anytime soon. And it kills the vibes there for a lot of people who work there, play there, coach there. With the Knicks, it's just, again, kind of a weird, bizarre world where the Knicks can lose in the second round but show good effort, and the fans are beloved. Yeah. Like the Patrick Ewing and the 90s Knicks are beloved. They didn't win anything. So with the Knicks, you have a team that's obviously very talented, and maybe you come up short, but if you really try hard, you'll get paid handsomely. The fans will love you. Like, if I was a head coach, I'd rather coach the Knicks than those other two teams.
But haven't the Knicks had nothing but sort of medium coaches like the Fizdales, and they haven't.
They had Larry Brown.
Well, what was that?
Horrible head coach.
Larry Brown won the title after he joined.
Was that like 20 years ago?
I mean, they hired Mike D'Antoni. The Knicks have hired high-profile coaches. That's not been an issue.
I think it's been a mixed bag. For every, Larry Brown, D'Antoni, Pat Riley, stuff like that, you also have your Jeff Hornaceks. You also have your Derek Fishers.
Right, that was a weird Phil Jackson era.
Yeah.
Maybe that's pinned to him.
Thibodeau, Mike Miller, David Fizdale, Jeff Hornacek, Kurt Rambis. Then Derek Fisher was a big hire.
Well, three of those guys were like interim.
Yeah,
so,
Rambis
and Mike Woodson. And
Woodson was full-time at one point.
Yeah, Woodson was a full-timer, and he was pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I disagree with you guys.
Well,
I think there are juicier spots for Jay Wright if he does want to go pro.
The big thing is now the Knicks have a front office led by Leon Rose that actually knows what they're doing. They're competent.
He's good.
The only reason why I even say Jay Wright is because his whole team is now on the Knicks. That's the whole thing. Mikal Bridges gets traded there yesterday, and now you got 4 dudes who won titles, and Mikal Bridges won 2 titles with it.
There will be no shortage of team chemistry, that's for sure.
He doesn't want to coach that team again. He already coached that team.
Why? They made him super rich.
Yeah. The Knicks did pay a steep price going back to Brooklyn in terms of all the draft picks. They sent back 4 unprotected first-round picks, a protected 2025 first-rounder via the Bucks, a Knicks 2028 unprotected pick swap, and a 2025 second-round selection. They get back Brooklyn's 2026 second-round pick in return. The Nets then made a big trade with the Rockets, one that on the surface, not that huge, but in a few months, if there's a big trade, or in the next couple of weeks, if there's a big trade, we'll be looking back at this and saying, that's where those picks came in handy. Brooklyn made a deal with the Houston Rockets to exchange several draft picks. The most important ones, the Nets get their 2026 first-round pick back that they sent to Phoenix in the Durant deal. The Rockets get the Suns' 2027 first-rounder.
Let me ask a question. Sorry, about the Knicks picks. So this is 5 first-round picks, right? What happens when they're trying to get Zion or Giannis down the road? Don't they need these picks? Like, I was wondering, it feels like a gigantic price for a player now when they, at some point, are going to be big game hunting for a number 1 player in the league kind of thing.
Well, assuming that the Knicks are competing for championships, these picks are all early to mid-20s. Yeah. So they're not like they're in the top 10 or even top 15. As long as the Knicks are a playoff team, especially if they go to the second round, the picks are going to be in the 20s. So
but what if Giannis calls and says, I want to go to New York, and the Bucks are like, okay, give us your future picks? I feel like this is a risk.
I think the Knicks realize that we have to pull the trigger now on somebody that is going to improve our team rather than waiting another year, another 2 years. Who knows what's going to become available?
Well, yeah, I think this is the strategy. It's like, to have a good group as opposed to keep looking for that star hunter where the savior complex or somebody who's going to leave to come to New York because that just hasn't happened. been. So they're trying to make their own luck now rather than just getting lucky that a star wants to come there. And one thing that is going on behind the scenes, it's another thing that makes Jalen Brunson such a likable person beyond just how hard he plays. He's taking less money. It looks like he could take a contract extension where he's going to take $100 million less than he could if he just held out one more year, and he's going to help give the team a little flexibility in terms of money. It's a strategy.
I also think that for the Knicks, there's a calculation too that they might not. Then they still have 3 first-round picks that they can trade.
Yeah.
But I think there's a calculation as well that they may not have the first-round picks on them, but Josh Hart's gonna be worth first-round picks. OG Anunoby's gonna be worth first-round picks. They have guys on their roster who, if they need to get picks to get that guy, they could make the trade to get that guy. It's not like they're in a situation where their roster is so barren with players, just 1 or 2 guys and a bunch of scrubs, that they can't even reacquire first-round picks. We just saw the Nets reacquire first-round picks from the Knicks because they had a good player.
Well,
Knicks got a lot of those guys. So, in theory, they can get some of those picks back if they do have to make that big move.
I just feel like the Lakers have put themselves in a tough position by trading so many future first-round picks, and now they're kind of desperate.
But
that's where I feel like the Knicks could be in 2 years.
Well, the Lakers do have 3 picks, though.
Yeah, I know, but but if you look at the future of the Lakers, they're thin. I mean, they don't have the assets that they probably should have.
Yeah, it's why they don't have Kyrie Irving, right? The Nets wanted more first-round picks. They couldn't give them up because they didn't have them at the time. Again, though, now the Nets are in a different position because now they had a guy in Bridges who was worth picks, and now maybe they can set themselves differently. So I think that's the calculation the Knicks are making.
Yeah. Last night, WNBA Commissioner's Cup title game at UBS Arena on Long Island. That's their in-season tournament, and it was the Minnesota Lynx continuing their incredible start to the season. They take down the New York Liberty 94-89. Nafisa Collier named MVP after dropping 21 points to go with 6 rebounds. After the game, Lynx head coach Cheryl Reeve tired of her team not being in the conversation for title contenders.
What we have to do before you guys really start to believe in us, and we don't really care what you think, except for right now, right, where we get to say to you, you got to talk about us. Now you got to say, okay, we just beat a super team. Now what that is to do? Because you guys love your super teams, man. You love your super teams. That's all you want to talk about, your super teams, right? But we just beat a super team. Let's talk about it.
Ooh, I don't love this at a midseason. I don't love this midseason.
Wait, there's an MVP for this stupid thing? God.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, who won the in-season NBA? And there was an MVP in the
I don't think they gave out one for that.
There's an MVP in the Commissioner's Cup, but that's a bridge too far.
It's a way to get these women more money. I'm fine with that, but I'm just saying why aren't people talking about us? I don't love that mid-season.
I also, her rationale
I like that after the season. Hey, no one saw us coming. We shocked the world. Whatever people, athletes want to say afterwards. I don't love the why aren't you talking about us because we just won an in-season tournament.
Well, A, why do you want to put us targeting back in the middle of the season? 2, the conversation around WNBA has not been around the super teams. It's been around Caitlin Clark and the rookies.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's
even
Caitlin and Angel.
even her premise that you guys love your super teams. I'm like, no, it seems like everybody loves Caitlin Clark. Trust me, as a Liberty fan, I wish they would talk more about the Liberty. That's not happening. So even that comment didn't even make sense. I don't know if this was something for her team. Maybe her team has felt disrespected, and maybe this is kind of like a rallying cry for them. Maybe it's an audience of 12, not an audience of millions. But I agree. I don't really love this either.
Well, here's the thing though. Don't blow that motivational talking point right now. Keep that carrot. Hey, they still don't respect us. They still won't talk about us. This is psychology 101.
And not to annoy Perloff enough, but to get into the history of the Commissioner's Cup. Last year, you had the Liberty beat the Aces in the Commissioner's Cup, and they were dancing like they won a championship. And guess what? The Aces went into the WNBA championship and smoked them. And they were dancing on the Liberty's home court, and they definitely remembered what happened during the Commissioner's Cup. So I would just say for the Lynx, maybe be a little careful about how you celebrate this Commissioner's Cup, knowing that you could see this team in a couple of months, 3-4 months.
No, I do hate in-season tournaments, but it does seem like the players do care.
Definitely.
I will give you that.
On the line.
Well, it's not even I feel like there's some pride here. It's so misplaced. Everything should be about the title. Anything in season, why would you spend any bullets on this? It's a mistake. And by the way, haven't the Lynx won a ton of NBA titles?
They did.
They
back
were the
in the
dynasty.
Day.
Yeah.
Simone Augustus
was playing their post game, their post championship party.
Maya Moore, Simone Augustus. That team was just they were awesome.
It was like at Paisley Park. Right?
Yeah.
By the way, in the chat, EJ's Basement Spider says, you forgot LeBron James was the NBA in-season championship MVP?
Was he?
Oh, so they did give out an MVP and they gave it to LeBron?
According to the chat. And the chat's never wrong.
Sticking with basketball, how about some old head drama? So the Celtics had their parade last week for winning their 18th NBA title. Can't everybody just get along? Apparently, the Celtics franchise is not one big happy family for past players and champions. Brian Scalabrine, who's a analyst for NBC Sports Boston and a host on SiriusXM NBA Radio, was discussing the parade. There was a mini float for the 2008 championship team, which included Scal, Paul Pierce, Eddie House, and Leon Poe. When Scalabrine was asked if Kendrick Perkins was invited, Perk was on that team too, Scalabrine said no, and that Perkins has a scarlet letter within the organization. Quote, it's not really an open arms thing with Kendrick Perkins, end quote. Well, Perk has responded this via 98.5 The Sports Hub in Boston.
Right now I feel like Scal is a coward, okay, because if you go publicly to say something like that and I reach out to you privately, at least call me back.
Yeah, he then went on Mark Jackson's podcast yesterday and reiterated most of those same sentiments, saying Scalabrine pissed him off. I mean, how much do we really care about this? This is like your two old alcoholic uncles arguing with one another over the phone after one didn't come to the family party.
Oh, my gosh. That sounded really
Been there, done that,
specific.
Pat. I relate.
No, I don't know where I pulled that from.
Thin air. But here's
This
the
is
thing.
a Saturday in New Jersey.
Here's the thing, though. So Perk is saying that he did reach out to Scalabrine behind the scenes and Scal won't call him back. That is a BS move. Like, if you guys did win a title together, whatever you think of Kendrick Perkins, loudmouth, whatever, hot taker, but if he did reach out to you, man to man, you've got to call that person back, don't you? Unless Perk did something to super offend Scalabrine.
I think you're right. I think there's room though for there to be so much hatred that you're not on speaking terms though.
Well,
that would be my only thing.
Then this runs deeper than any of us could have thought.
Well, Scalabrine's an analyst. He works for the Celtics.
Right.
Perkins has criticized Tatum and Brown in the past, which wasn't unwarranted.
Yeah, right.
And he criticized Joe Mazzulla, and they proved him wrong. It's like, you're going to ruin a friendship over that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Also,
that Celtic team is messy, man.
Also, it is very messy. Ray Allen, didn't get along with Rondo.
No
where was
wonder
KG?
two guys showed up to the parade. No, they all hate each other, it seems like.
Also, is that usual where you would have a mini float for guys who won past titles?
No, that's pathetic, actually, because you're the Boston Celtics. You won 18 titles, and that team, very good team, but only won one title. How about a parade? I know some have passed away. Unfortunately, we lost Bill Walton. How about a parade for the 86 team?
That's what I
bring
was
back
saying.
Robert Parrish, bring back Kevin McHale. I mean, Larry Bird seems to want nothing to do with nobody, but convince them to come up. Pull those guys up. We don't care about seeing freaking Kendrick Perkins and Scalabrine.
I will say, for a team that didn't win a title, I would love to see Big Pat, Starks, former Knicks greats, if the Knicks win a title.
Don't worry.
At a parade.
Don't worry. You saw the playoff run. They'll all be there. I thought that John Starks would come out and shoot a layup in the fourth quarter. Don't worry. Those guys are going to get their shot.
Even Marbury showed up this time. I have a question. Will you guys see Scalabrine on TV or social media? Do you guys think Michael Rappaport, or is that just me? The two of them are twins.
And they sound the same.
Exactly the same.
That's the crazy thing. I was watching a Celtic game one time, and I was like, I know, Rappaport has jumped ship, and he's been a turncoat from the Knicks fans. Yeah. I'm like, did he jump to the Celtics? Is he doing Celtic games now? And it was Scalabrine. I was like, whoa.
Which is funny, because the guys they're from two opposite coasts.
I know. How do they sound the same? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. They look alike.
And they look alike.
Yeah.
No, but I did it without even not knowing he was calling the game. I was like, that sounds like Michael Rappaport. And it was Scalabrine. Couldn't believe it.
Baseball next hour?
Yeah, let's do baseball next hour. Thanks. Hold on to that. Coming up, we have some NFL news for you. Sit tight. It's Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break.
One show. One mission. Maggie and Perloff, coming soon to a station near you.
Andrew Bogush, lost in the fog gulf. Bogush can't see his way. People out his voice in his ears. Every day, Tom Brady's glory, it's all too much. Andrew Bogush, lost in the fog gulf. Bogush can't see his way. People out his voice in his ears. Every day, Tom Brady's glory, it's all too much. Andrew Bogush needs a break. Bogush has had enough of Pete. Freedom from Bilotti, that's what Bogush needs. People he won't leave alone. His voice keeps ringing in his headphones like a drone. Oh, get out of Bogush's head. People can't you see? Bogush trying to be free in the sea of noise. Let Bogush find his peace. Oh, get out of Bogush's head. People
1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Got some NFL stuff for you, and that is one of the big offseason moves, Perloff, involved your football team.
Yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles adding Saquon Barkley. Now, Saquon's kind of a mixed bag. You know, we know the talent. He's obviously can be a difference maker, but frankly, he just hasn't been healthy enough to be a solidified, no doubt, no brainer, like finishing piece
right.
or whatever, like Christian McCaffrey had the same questions, right? But he has clearly helped the San Francisco 49ers. So here are some Eagles players. Let's hear from Brandon Graham talking about Saquon Barkley. He didn't want to leave New York, but he's happy he's on the Eagles.
I know for him, he probably didn't want to have to make that decision, but I know that that's the cost of business sometimes. And so, I mean, we loving it because we definitely got a good player.
Okay, and more, Lane Johnson, one of your favorite players, Perloff, says Saquon in for a big year.
When you see, obviously, what he can do at the running back position, and we can flex him out at receiver, and he can, he can go. It's really unbelievable. I never thought that he would be playing for us, but, here it is. I know that he's excited. We're definitely excited up front. And, man, I think he's poised for a big, big year.
All right, that was on NFL Insiders. Do you see Saquon Barkley as a finishing piece for your Philadelphia Eagles?
I think he might be the most overhyped player in the league right now. Why is Saquon Barkley get all? He's the 11th highest paid player on the team. He's a running back who gets a minor contract, and everyone's talking about Saquon Barkley. I didn't understand. I was thinking about this. Nick Sirianni, I guess, was talking trash to Giants fans, and he said, you can say what you want. We got your best player. If Saquon Barkley could not have been the Giants' best player,
No,
right?
I believe that was Dexter Lawrence. But, I mean, listen.
Yeah, of course, any other position. Like, the Eagles have a massive, massive issue coming into next season, and there's nothing Saquon Barkley can do to stop anybody in the secondary. Like, they have a gigantic hole at safety and quarterback. Like, Saquon Barkley is a cherry on top of that offense.
I thought that you addressed this in the draft.
Well, they're rookies.
Yep.
I mean, there's two rookies. Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs did it, but generally you can't win with a rookie quarterback. Like, no, I don't understand the hype around Saquon Barkley. Maybe you could explain it to me.
Well, can I tell you one way that he might be able to help this team outside of just running the ball? He can be a receiver. He's not a great blocker, but, that stuff can be changed, I guess. Maybe a little leadership. And which is weird to say about the Eagles because you guys have a lot of leaders. We just played two sound bites, one from Brandon Graham, the other from Lane Johnson. These guys are stalwart veterans. These guys are going to the Hall of Fame probably. No. But, I mean, maybe a little bit on the offense because I don't think Jalen Hurts is that guy.
I think you're wrong about that. First of all, you have A.J. Brown. Nobody gets a word in edgewise when that dude's anywhere near there. You have Lane Johnson. That, to me, seems like bringing in a fifth-year running back. I know he's at Penn State. He's really popular. I do not see that as the why he's there.
Well, he was definitely a leader with the Knicks.
The Giants.
Excuse me, the Giants. We're talking about the Knicks and their big trade, New York. Definitely a leader with the Giants. Definitely, Is
that a good thing? They led him to what, like a 5-11 record?
Well, again, when he's healthy, and we saw what happened with the playoff run. Again, they beat what turned out to be like a bit of a paper tiger with the Minnesota Vikings, but still, he got heralded for a lot of what he did behind the scenes. And, for as good as the Eagles could be, you guys definitely have a little bit of an issue here in terms of what's going on with the chemistry. You had Jalen Hurts out there, basically could not even come up with a pretend reason to back up Nick Sirianni. He was asked what Nick Sirianni does well, and he couldn't even answer the question with a lie. You definitely may be able to use some of the vibes, but the thing is about Saquon, it's all about his health. If he's not healthy, I'm not breaking news here. It was going to be all for nothing.
Is there any chance that Saquon could be the Eagles' Christian McCaffrey? Like the Niners made this trade for a running back who had been injured, not helping a losing team.
Right.
He goes to a team that's already superpowered on offense. He turns them into a supernova. Like Saquon won't have to carry the load like he was in New York. Maybe he has a Christian McCaffrey type resurgence and he becomes a superstar in Philly. That's kind of what I'm looking at.
That's a nice fantasy. But first of all, I don't think Saquon's as good as Christian McCaffrey. Also, the Eagles already have Hurts, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Goddard. I think they're a little more complete. Hurts is supposed to be the star of this team. You're not just going to – I don't think Saquon's going to get the volume that everyone thinks he is. They spread everything that – A.J. Brown's going to have 100 catches. How is Saquon also going to have 100 catches?
Well, but maybe that's a good thing to EJ's point, you know? Well, Christian McCaffrey has become one of the focal points, but they find a way in San Francisco to keep everyone happy on the offense with the touches.
I mean, the Eagles let up – I think the Eagles let up about 36 points a game the last 6 games of the season. They have so many bigger problems. Saquon is very overhyped, as running backs always are.
Who is the next superstar who could be on the move? Well, Woj was up last night, breaking all types of news. How does it impact teams in the Western Conference? We'll tell you next. Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
NBA offseason now in full effect. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Not sure if you saw this late last night, and that is, first of all, the Knicks making a trade, Perloff. They clearly have a type. It is anyone who went to Villanova now gets to play on the Knicks. They added yet another piece from two of the Villanova championship teams. Mikal Bridges is now going to be joining Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, and Dante DiVincenzo on the Knicks to create this very unusual collection of former college teammates who now all play together.
Yeah, it is an odd team to me because if you throw an OG, like you have 5 sort of awesome wing players. Like, what are you doing?
Well, that's the NBA now.
Is it, though? Like, look at the West. Where Minnesota has the big guys. Denver has the big guys. I feel like the missing piece to me was not Mikal Bridges, but they've been coveting him for a long time because they're Villanova NBA version. They don't scare me, Maggie. I'm not scared of your big, bad Knicks.
All right, you're wearing a 76ers hat. Yeah. I don't know. Everyone's panicking down in Philadelphia. In Boston, they're still got a nice championship hangover, but this team is clearly being set up to try to take out the Boston Celtics. So that was a trade, obviously, with the Brooklyn Nets because that's where Mikal Bridges was playing. So 5 first-round picks, 4 of them being unprotected. Bojan Bogdanovic also thrown in, but he'll probably be on the move pretty soon after that. So essentially a crosstown trade. It happens very rarely. The last time was 1983. Mikal Bridges has never been an all-star, but obviously a very good player, sort of all-star fringe player. And they just traded 5 first-round picks and a pick swap to get him. So the price was steep, that's for sure. Now, that's not the only thing that happened last night. That's the only real players that got moved. There was also a lot of picks being traded back and forth, so it can get a little confusing. We won't get too much in the weeds, but Brooklyn was trading picks back to Houston. Houston is trading picks with Phoenix. Phoenix is trading picks to Houston. It's pretty wild, and what it all sets up for and what it all matters for in terms of what we need to know as sports fans is that Houston now looks like they're in a position to add a star, and who they want to add, depending on who you read, could be either Kevin Durant or maybe Devin Booker.
Well, it's Woj.
Yeah, right.
Reading. Maybe it's 2 versions of Woj.
Yeah, it's whatever version of Woj is not short-circuiting currently, as he's a robot who needs to maybe unplug and plug back in, because it was first Kevin Durant was going to be maybe the focal point for Houston, but maybe it could be Devin Booker. Those 2 things are not even close to being the same. But anyway, it looks like Houston, all things being equal, is now looking for a star.
Yeah, I mean, they sort of got older last year with Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks, obviously. I love that team. I mean, love that team. Yep. Jalen Green's spectacular. It's amazing. The West just keeps getting more loaded. It's like kind of hard to pick like what's going to happen here. How do you build a championship team coming out of the West? The Knicks, you're right. Like the Knicks are right there with the Celtics now. In the West, Houston can add Kevin Durant, and man, they're still looking up at a lot of other teams.
No doubt. But again, this is just the first maybe domino that's going to fall. We don't even know who they're going to add. If they add Devin Booker, maybe you're saying, oh, they're right there. You know, Durant's a little bit older. It's a little bit different. And then the Phoenix of it all. So the Phoenix Suns aspect of this is also very interesting. This is a super team that got formed like 5 minutes ago, and it looks like maybe they're already going to be shuttling guys out and kind of admitting that this didn't work.
Well, they got swept in the first round. I don't think they don't need to admit anything.
Yeah,
we all know.
I mean, they might say, well, all we need is just like some few better role players. They obviously fired their head coach, Frank Vogel, to bring in Mike Budenholzer. So I guess they're kind of potentially waving the white flag on this thing already. So, ... What does that mean? That means there might be a spot on this Phoenix Suns team for who else? LeBron James. If LeBron does want to leave LA, and Amanda just shook her head. Yes, more LeBron connections. If LeBron did want to leave the Lakers, which I don't know why he would. They cater to his every whim. They try to tell you they're reading his mind to make moves, that he's not involved in any of this stuff, whatever. But he could look at Phoenix, Perloff, if they're a team that also has maybe shown interest in drafting his son, Bronny.
Yeah, it's funny because how does that get him closer to a title? If you leave LA, it's got to be to win another ring. And that feels like a tough spot because their roster is very shallow, right? And they don't have a lot of assets to trade for anybody else. So I don't see that happening because LeBron gives himself actually a worse chance of winning there. Unless they somehow keep Durant, Booker, and Beal and add LeBron. But the scenario isn't exactly that, right? Because of the apron and the hard cap and all that stuff. Like, they're not going to be able to do that.
No, and LeBron has already said, or his representation has said, he's not playing for the league minimum. So,
And
no.
even, by the way, even LeBron with that, like, they're way old. I mean, they're crazy old. If they have LeBron and KD, this isn't 2012.
Well, somebody alert the Phoenix Suns to that. So anyway, I don't know. But all we know is that picks went back and forth last night, and it does seem to be setting up for something big for the Houston Rockets. So we'll see if that ends up coming true. You're welcome to weigh in at 855-212-4227 on both the Mikal Bridges trade from the Nets to the Knicks. Does that get the Knicks closer to a title, and how much closer? You are also welcome to weigh in on all these flurry of picks going back and forth. Does this mean Durant's on his way out of Phoenix? Does it mean that Devin Booker's on his way out of Phoenix? Does it mean Durant asked, maybe behind the scenes, to be out of Phoenix? In which case, if you're a Suns fan, you got to be like, what the heck? What is going on?
No, I think the Suns fans know. Nobody's holding on to the idea that this is going to work, are they?
I mean, they've had 2 postseasons together, and last postseason, the whole big three had played like 8 games together. They had no chemistry whatsoever. This year got a little bit better, and I get that they got swept, but I mean, listen, the Lakers just got gentlemen swept, and they're not breaking up the team as far as we know.
I like the move the Suns made last night, just to like at least start to position themselves as a team that can do something, because they were pinned into these 3 players forever as of last year. I think it's already time to look ahead.
Wow. 855-212-4227. All right. In honor of the NBA draft tonight, let's do a little old school, new school.
It's Maggie and Perloff's Old School, New School.
All right. NBA draft tonight. Nobody is going to be confusing this draft with one of the greatest of all time. It's not shaping up that way, considering the average sports fan can't name 5 people who are in this draft. However, Pearl, today's Old School, New School, we are looking back at 2 of the all-time great NBA drafts.
Mm-hmm.
So who do you have? The old school, which would be the 1984 draft.
The Houston Rockets select Akeem Olajuwon of the University of Houston. The Chicago Bulls pick Michael Jordan of the University of North Carolina. The Philadelphia 76ers select Charles Barkley of Auburn University.
All right, that's 84 draft. That's old school. Or do you go new school, newish? 2003 NBA draft, which sounded a little like this.
With the first pick in the 2003 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select LeBron James. With the third pick in the 2003 NBA draft, the Denver Nuggets select Carmelo Anthony from Syracuse University. With the 5th pick in the 2003 NBA draft, the Miami Heat select Dwayne Wade from Marquette University.
All right, so there you go. Today's old school, new school, Perloff. What was better, the 1984 draft or the 2003 NBA draft? What do you got?
Well, it's not even a fair competition. It's obviously the 1984 draft. Start with the fact that they had 10 rounds back then. 10 rounds of NBA draft. Can you imagine that? They can't fill out 5 picks in this year's draft of viable NBA players. They had 10 darn rounds, Maggie. It's incredible. And they picked so many oddballs because you had to find players somewhere. But obviously, this belongs number 1 on any list of all-time drafts. Michael Jordan, Akeem, Charles Barkley, and Stockton. We all know the 4 Hall of Famers. There's never been a draft class like that. They own the record book. They have 1 million all-star appearances. But some of the other players were good too. So it wasn't just 4 guys. It's not the deepest draft, but Alvin Robertson was a multi-time all-star, one of the great defensive players, totally psychotic, famous for that. Otis Thorpe was a really good player. Kevin Willis, big body, short arms, Tyrannosaurus Rex, great player for Atlanta. There were a lot of really good players throughout this draft, multiple all-stars. Not a lot of depth, but the best part about this is they drafted Carl Lewis late in the draft, the Olympic star, and Oscar Schmidt was actually the Brazilian, I think Brazil's superstar, the international Olympic guy, was drafted by the Nets in the 6th round and unfortunately never played in the NBA, I believe, but was a multi-time gold medalist in the Olympics. Also, Eddie Lee Wilkins. There's some great Ken the Animal Bannister. There's a lot of names. Because back then, guys played college basketball, so you could actually see who they were, and you had a much better chance of getting a player who'd be in the NBA. Nowadays, even as the 2003, there's just so much risk. There's no way you're getting European guys and high school guys. There's no way you could compete with the old school.
Okay, well, just because you had some fun names like the Animal and Oscar Schmidt, stuff like that, Carl Lewis, has made it an interesting draft. But I can make an argument for the 2003 draft being the best, because 15 different players who were drafted in 2003 combined for 26 championships. So not only does the 2003 draft have very top heavy, which of course is the league's all-time leading scorer in LeBron James, and maybe the first or second best player of all time, depending on where you are on the LeBron Jordan thing. You also have Dwayne Wade, maybe one of the more, even now, underrated superstars. Chris Bosh, still underrated. And then depending where you fall on Carmelo Anthony, these are the guys who are really at the top. But we're forgetting if you want to go to depth, this is where you can really get some depth here. Can I interest you in a little David West? Can I interest you in a little Mo Williams?
No, thanks.
Can I interest you in a little Luke Walton?
I'm good.
3-time champion. Can I interest you in a guy you love? We all know him, Zaza Pachulia. I'm just saying you had a lot of champions in this draft. Do not sleep on it. Multiple-time gold medalists as well.
I was wondering how you got the 20-something championships. And Zaza, I didn't realize he was in that draft. That is not fair. You can't give role players these championships. I mean, I'm sure there's millions of this. I had 10 rounds. There's got to be 100 championships.
Nope. Well, you didn't say it, and I did point it out. So at the top of the draft, of course, you've got amazing talent with LeBron and Wade and Bosh and Carmelo Anthony. You also have great talent at the top of your 1984 draft. But give me lots of depth here. And my draft only had 2 rounds to do it, not the 10 rounds like your draft had in 1984.
Oh, my God. First of all, there's so many there are so many good players. I mean, obviously, Sam Perkins was 4. I didn't even mention him. Melvin Turpin, huge bust. Leon Wood is an outstanding NBA referee. He went number 10.
Oh, come on.
Leon Wood is awesome. He never makes a bad call.
Yeah, right.
I like Leon Wood. He's actually really graded out high. I think he retired. I'm not sure about that. Terrence Stansbury, who was a 6 slam dunk contest guy. Do you remember Terrence Stansbury?
That's
I know EJ knows him. Vern Fleming had a lot. I have so many more viable NBA players than you had to go. Your 8th player was Luke Walton and Zaza Pachulia.
I'm talking about the amount of championships.
You said depth, and you had to give me Zaza?
Well, I'll give you Kendrick Perkins and Leandro Barbosa. I can do this all day. I got definite guys who were winning 6 Man of the Year competitions. You give me your slam dunk, I'd rather have a 6 Man of the Year. Give me somebody who's actually contributing to big-time teams.
Why'd you give me Luke Walton when you had Leandro Barbosa? That guy's sick.
Well, I'm giving it to you now. I love that guy. Well, because Luke Walton won 3 titles. That's why.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
He was on a team that won 3 titles.
Well, all right.
Don't forget Boris Diaw, another champion.
Another 6 Man of the Year, too, wasn't he?
Great
Boris
draft
Diaw?
pick.
Yep.
2003, people poo-poo it like, it cannot hold a candle to 1984. Look closer. Look more closely.
Your argument was like, oh, this guy's underrated, this guy's underrated, this guy's underrated. Nobody's underrating any of the guys in mine because they're Mount Rushmore guys.
Okay,
I got Akeem and Jordan.
Okay, but can I use one of your guys against you?
Please.
Okay, because Michael Jordan, why I think 2003, we're talking about 2003 draft versus the 84 draft, old school, new school here on Maggie and Perloff. We do this all the time. You have already said that you don't think Hakeem Olajuwon's titles are legit because if Michael Jordan wasn't playing baseball at the time and he was still playing basketball, you don't think he would have had those titles. And while Hakeem has all of his accolades on his own, the 2 titles definitely matters because Barkley is also in your draft and he's somebody who has an MVP, yes, but is titleless. So is your list as impressive because Jordan, you yourself don't believe that Hakeem is like a true champion? You say that all the time.
That is complicated. You did use my own words against me, and I hate you for that. Accurate, I have said that. But if I'm going to do an all-time player list, I would put Akeem over Dwayne Wade. I just would. He was just better. And I mean, obviously, Jordan's ahead of LeBron. So your second player is Dwayne Wade. Akeem's ahead of Dwayne Wade. Barkley's way ahead of Carmelo. Who's your fourth? Chris Bosh.
Bosh is underrated.
Yeah, I mean, Stockton is obviously on any all-time list. Stockton's going to be higher than Bosh. So I think I beat you at top 4 one by one easily. And again, I think there's some people who don't even think Carmelo is that great.
Carmelo a little overrated. But again, it
He's
depends.
a great scorer,
It depends
but
where
he
you
just
land on
didn't
him.
win,
You
yeah.
know, because Melo is a great scorer. He gets a lot of respect around the league too.
Very talented player. I mean,
But just was not a winner in college, but not in the pros.
Akeem is number 13 on ESPN's top 100 list from 2 years ago, and Jordan's number 1, and now LeBron's number 2. But then it sort of falls apart for you after that.
Well, that's why I've got Chris Kaman. So,
Oh, that was such a bad pick, by the way, Chris Kaman. Yeah.
There you go.
You never want a balding center.
When he's balding coming into the draft?
22, yeah, that was a bad pick. You got to admit, Carl Lewis getting drafted was pretty awesome. Another guy, your friend Rick Carlisle was drafted that year. A lot of coaches in my draft. If you go 10
I got
rounds,
coaches in my draft.
Yeah, who do you got?
Willie Green.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, such a disappointing
And Luke
player for the
Walton was a
Sixers.
coach too.
Yeah. Oh, I got tons of coaches too. I have Matt Doherty, the North Carolina guy. I have a lot of fathers too. Do you have any fathers in your draft? You got Carmelo.
LeBron James.
LeBron James.
Yeah, his son's about to get drafted either tonight or tomorrow night. I got a good GM for you. I got James Jones.
I have Cecil.
Busy working the phones last night with the Phoenix Suns.
I have someone named Cecil Exum who is related to Dante Exum. Didn't see that coming, did you? You never thought Dante Exum would get into this conversation.
I didn't think that. There you go. 855-212-4227. Maggie and Perloff. Old school versus new school. 84 versus 03.
Can I say one thing?
Got Kyle Korver, one of the best
Kyle
shooters
Korver.
ever.
I know it didn't win though.
Can I say one caveat about this? Just in general, old school NBA draft 1,000 times better than new school NBA draft. And that's just by structure. I mean, the fact that basically everyone stayed in college all 4 years back then, you knew these guys back and forth. You knew everything about the top 15 picks. And I just think nowadays it's more of a crapshoot. So I think old school NBA draft, there was just an energy around the NBA draft that has been lost because it's a much more, I know it's fun for real draftniks, but it used to be such a big thing. It was like kind of like the NFL draft. And now it's just very different.
Now, I noticed our own executive producer weighing in our chat, youtube.com/infinitysportsnet and twitch.tv/infinitysportsnetwork. 96. The 96 draft is an all-time draft as well. Allen Iverson, etc. However, is it old school or is it new school? Because
It's like middle-aged.
Exactly. And that doesn't really apply.
Well, I think it should be new school because I think Allen Iverson and Kobe Bryant and Steve Nash are the legends of the new school. So I feel like, yes, maybe you could say they played in the old school, but when we're thinking about historical context, we think of like the millennial generation saying, I remember the 96 draft being crazy. Whereas like Perloff for his generation remembers the 84 draft.
Right.
So I think that you may have been able to help yourself better if you took the 96.
No.
But I appreciated the effort to say, you know what, we're going to do real new school with a guy who's still playing in the NBA, LeBron James.
Exactly. Like if it's going to be new school, it has to be at least after the year 2000.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But by the way, except for Kobe, I didn't see a lot of titles on that 96 draft. I mean, Ray Allen
How
won
many
one.
All-Star games on that draft? My gosh.
Yeah,
but that's all
still.
our drafts.
I mean, I would think I agree 96 is the second best draft, but it ain't 84. 84, we just saw a movie, Air, which was basically about the 1984 draft. They sat there, Ben Affleck, in a room and be like, wow, look at all these stars.
96 draft, Kobe, AI, Steve Nash, Ray Allen, Stephon Marbury, Sharif Abdul-Rahim, Marcus Camby. That's guys off the top of my head. I'm not even looking at a list right now.
Yeah.
Like, and that infamous Steve Nash, if I didn't mention him, that infamous Paige Stojakovic. Like, I mean, stars all up and down the draft. That, to me, is the deepest, best draft by far.
You can have Stephon Marbury. Please, take him. Put him on your Olympic team.
But did they have Travis Outlaw?
No, they don't have Travis Outlaw. No.
Yes, they did. 855-212-4227. All right, so that's your old school, new school for today. The better NBA draft. Perloff's going with 1984. I'm going to go with 2003. EJ split the baby and went with 1996. Way to go. You're welcome to weigh in on this. We have just loads to do, including football, which is finding its way inside this conversation all day. You thought it was a basketball day? It's not. Football and college football more specifically. The toughest places to play in college football ranked. Did your school make the list? We'll tell you next. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Old school, new school debate today. 1984 NBA draft versus the 2003 NBA draft. Which was better? 84, famously, Hakeem, Jordan, Barkley, Stockton. 2003, LeBron, Carmelo, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. Both great drafts. Did we throw up a poll for that at Maggie and Pearl? We should. And EJ wants to put a 96 then. Do we put all three in there? Or is this,
No.
it doesn't matter because 84 is going to win this one so easily because Michael Jordan was in it.
Well, I forgot to mention 2003 Carlos Delfino. So put that all in your pipes and smoke it.
The 2003 is like, oh, yeah, I kind of remember that guy. I had Carl Lewis. Do you know how many gold medals he won?
Yeah, but what did he do in the NBA? Absolutely nothing except a bad national anthem.
I don't even think he never tried out for a team, did he? I don't even know why back then, the 80s were awesome because you used to draft like track stars, like you used to draft anybody because you had 1,000 rounds to play with. Now everybody, for the sake of TV, why do we only have 2 rounds of NBA draft this year? Why don't we go 5 deep?
Yeah, I know. When we think back to what really built the NBA, it was all those extra rounds of the draft where Carl Lewis got, ceremonial pick. I also forgot Zarko Chabarkaba, so everybody can just go suck it.
Did he make the league? I have no idea who that
Anyway,
is. By the way, you know what? It's funny. This year's draft, how many starters are in this draft? Is it 3? It's unbelievable. It's so bad. I was listening to stuff on this year's draft. Like, the new school drafts are awful. Just I don't know what's going on.
Last year we had Wembanyama. That was awesome. And he turned out
Brandon
to be
Miller was
so
good.
that Perloff now has to drive to San Antonio to apologize to Wembanyama in French in person.
I got to tell you, just when you get to number 6 in today's NBA draft, you're getting a role player. That's all it is.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. Well, we got to put this sort of underwhelming draft to the back burner because we've got college football disagreements to take care of, and that is EA, the company that makes the new college football video game, put out a list of the top 25 toughest places to play, Pearl. The hardest, home environments. And they're getting a lot of blowback because Kyle Field at Texas A&M was number 1 on the list over Bryant-Denny Stadium in Alabama and also over Tiger Stadium at LSU. And I think most people are actually most disturbed by the fact that LSU is not number 1.
Yeah. They're right, number 3. Here's the thing. I think one of the main downsides of Kyle Field and Texas A&M is the Texas A&M football team. So this is a little unfair. Like, Jimbo kind of screwed up this whole thing. It's not Kyle Field's fault. That's my only argument to defend Kyle Field, is if A&M was better on the field, then this home field would really take advantage, which I guess isn't the point.
No, listen, Kyle Field is... it's a great home environment. You've seen it.
Oh, it's like they do something with acoustics. Andy Staples was on earlier, mentioned it. They close off the stadium, so it's annoyingly loud. And it's not that the fans are cheering any louder.
Right.
It's the way they do the echoes in that it echoes off, kind of like Seattle, I guess, and you can't even hear yourself think for an entire 2 hours watching Texas A&M lose to Alabama.
God, I wish a college football game was 2 hours.
That
it's
was
like
the thing.
4.5 hours.
Yeah.
That was the thing that Andy mentioned, which is why I was so upset about Texas A&M being number 1 here. Besides that one Alabama game in 2021, I can't remember a game where I felt like Kyle Field won them a game.
Right.
I can point to games where I felt like Penn State won a game because of Beaver Stadium. I can point to games where LSU where I feel like Death Valley won them a game. And maybe that's just how bad Texas A&M is, but I just feel like if you're going to be the number 1 place, I got to point to multiple iconic wins where I'm like, man, that team went in there and it didn't matter who they were facing. There was no chance they were going to lose because that crowd was too good. And I don't see that with Kyle Field.
We're talking about also real home field advantages here. We talk about this in other sports, especially basketball, with the Denver Nuggets and Salt Lake being above sea level, like Rice Eccles in Utah. That should be the real home field. It's like 4,200 feet above sea level, I believe. So you're talking about real thin air. That should actually be the true home field advantage, no?
Well, they're very nice there, though. I don't know if you don't feel intimidated because Salt Lake is a very welcoming town. It's first of all, it's so stunningly gorgeous, that stadium, BYU Stadium, that you're a little distracted by the beauty. It doesn't feel like Death Valley and LSU to me. It's a little too nice. Does that make sense?
Which fan base do you think has the biggest right to be upset today? Because they were either left off the list or some that were just a little too low. Like Autzen Stadium should be in the top 10, in my opinion. It was 11th on this list at Oregon. That is an incredible home field advantage. Very hard to play.
It's very loud at Oregon.
It's loud, and
they
LeBron's wandering around all the time, but I don't know. I went to, again, I'm
they
not
basically
sure.
ruined Colorado's season last year. They showed up and they didn't win a game after that.
I saw USC come in there once. The one game, I've been there twice, actually, and one game I saw them lose. It is definitely a home field advantage, but it is a big stadium, too, and it goes up pretty high. I don't feel like it is as loud and on top of everybody as some other stadiums.
I think that Notre Dame got left off this list. Pat Boyle is here. He's doing updates for us. Big Notre Dame fan. I'm sorry, they didn't get left off. They're 21 on the list. It's almost like getting left off. I mean, pretty far down. And Nebraska, who has sellout after sellout after sellout, but because the team has not been so relevant, now the fans are getting the shrapnel. Like, they're not providing the home field advantage when I think the fans might actually be doing their part. It's just the team is not that great.
Right. When Nebraska plays at home, they lose by 20 instead of 40.
That's not helping.
I read team that I think that really got snubbed here, because this is a team, again, where I feel like I've watched games. They definitely won almost purely because of the crowd. I think Kinnick Stadium in Iowa, being number 20.
Yeah.
That place, I mean, they've beaten Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State, teams that have way more talent, and teams that were coming in undefeated, and all of a sudden they can't play football at Kinnick Stadium. And also, it's a beautiful thing what they do with the child patients at the hospital, and they wave. It's one of the best things that happens in college football. I saw that at 20. I was like, man, I see a lot of great teams going there and have their seasons just go up in smoke because of Kinnick Stadium.
Iowa's crowd is so loud, they disrupt the offense.
That's why they're so bad.
That's why they only score 13 points a game.
One stat to defend Texas A&M. Texas A&M 7-1 at home last year, 0-5 on the road. Maybe that's where it is, because I think we're discounting how awful these teams are on the road. Maybe that's a crazy split. That must be where EA got this from.
Another one too. I feel like I've seen weird things happen in Corvallis. And Corvallis can be a very big home field advantage. I think someone had called in before to say Wazoo also So
both of those are hard to get to. I think the commute drains a team.
You have to somehow connect through.
Yeah, Pullman is out there.
And our pal Ryan Leaf has talked about that.
Oh my God! Basically, Washington State is like a gigantic desert before Seattle, and you're driving in the middle of nowhere. I could see those being really big-time home field advantages.
One last one real quick, which came in really low on the list but made the top 25, and someone mentioned in the chat. What about Boise State?
Oh, that place is awesome.
Yeah, blue field, already kind of disorienting.
Wait, did that not make the list?
It's on 24.
Right.
Just made the list. The bottom 5 on this list, well, EJ mentioned at Kinnick Stadium is 20, then Notre Dame 21, Spartan Stadium 22, Razorback Stadium is 23, Boise State 24, and Mississippi State rounds it out.
Michigan State shouldn't be on that list. They stink.
I didn't understand that either.
They stink, and who have they beaten at home?
I didn't understand that one.
No, Michigan State's kind of intense, though. I mean, it's like...
When? 8 years ago?
I don't know.
Cousins?
It's, East Lansing.
I just feel like Ohio State walks in there and just smokes them every year. I know Michigan's had trouble every now and then. I don't know. I was surprised because they made the list.
You're kind of getting into the team, too. Like, Ohio State's bringing an NFL team into that stadium.
I would beat Ohio State at Michigan. Like, I mean, at a Kinnick Stadium. That's again, I'm kind of judging off that. Like, I've seen, like, great teams go into Kinnick, and I can't think of a great team that went to Michigan State and like, oh, we lost to an unranked team because we just couldn't figure out the road advantage or whatever, home field advantage.
So that's what's going on in college football. Lots of people upset about this list. Toughest places to play in college football. It was not LSU number 1. It was Kyle Field at Texas A&M. Pat, what else is going on today, sir?
Yeah, the big summer blockbuster NBA trade last night. The New York Knicks have acquired Mikal Bridges from their crosstown rival Brooklyn Nets and have sent back a farm of picks along with Bojan Bogdanovic, whose $19 million cap hit this upcoming season was the salary chip for this deal. The picks included 4 unprotected first-round picks, a protected 2025 first-rounder via the Bucks, a 2028 unprotected pick swap, which that'll most likely help the Knicks, and a 2025 second-round selection. The Knicks get back Brooklyn's 2026 second-round pick. Then the Nets turned around and almost simultaneously completed a big draft pick exchange trade with the Houston Rockets. The notable ones exchanged, Brooklyn gets their 2025 and 2026 first-round picks back that they initially sent to Phoenix. In the Durant deal, the Rockets get the Suns' 2027 first rounder. So basically the Nets have stockpiled a nuclear arms base worth of draft picks.
I mean, this is the only way they get better. I don't think superstars are now looking at Brooklyn and being like, we should all team up there. I think that went out the window.
They should just look at whatever Oklahoma City did and say, we're going to do exactly that.
Yeah,
and that looks like what they're doing.
And the Rockets have also accumulated more draft capital to add to a surplus amount that they have as is. Woj making sure to add in that the Rockets have their eyes on both Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, and they are ready to pounce with a nice package for the Suns. Phoenix has made it clear they want to run it back, but in the NBA, a couple of conversations at some summer concerts or some clubs, and you never know.
Yeah. You forgot the Olympics is also happening.
Yes.
Kevin Durant's on that team. Guys love teaming up and planning their future moves when they're all together.
True.
The Olympics.
Last night, WNBA Commissioner's Cup Championship. Here was the dagger.
Carlton gets a look. What a big night. 23 points, 6 3-point makes.
Lisa Byington, the call on Prime Video. Bridget Carlton with a team-high 23 points. The Minnesota Lynx take down the New York Liberty at UBS Arena in Long Island, 94-89, winning their first Commissioner's Cup in the 4-year history of the tourney. Nafisa Collier named MVP. She had 21 points and 6 boards. So I know Perloff hates the in-season tournaments, but think about it. Their salary's not high as is. Each player on the Lynx receives approximately $30,000 in prize money, and Collier gets an additional $5,000 for MVP honors. So it's a big deal in terms of the money.
I feel like as a fan, though, I'm being marketed to.
Well, some of them just made like half their salary just by winning that game.
Perloff, you're
so I'm going to be guilted into following this in-season tournament.
I'm not saying you follow.
It sounds like you're trying to you're saying that the competition is going to be intense because these people have a lot to play for.
Wait,
That's what makes it cool.
Perloff has a trouble being marketed to when he's wearing head-to-toe sports gear today. Like, you've already fallen for the marketing. You're wearing the 76ers hat. This is some other roots of fight. This is something else that you have. I hate to break it to you. You're getting marketed every second, and you're buying the marketing.
Well, I just think that you should be focused on a championship. I like teams that are solely focused on a championship. I understand the salary thing gets in the way of that, but like, I don't want to see the Lakers like wear themselves out in November to win a meaningless tournament. Meaningless. It's right there with the NBA Summer League.
I don't think that wore them out. I think them running into the
100
Nuggets
years
again
old.
wore them out.
Yeah, and I don't like, and we talked about this in the NBA NC tour. I don't know why you can't enjoy this and then also enjoy the playoffs. I don't like, they're different.
You
just
can
like
enjoy it.
Just like I like the Maui Invitational, and then I love the NCAA tournament. Like, it's not, I don't think, oh man, like, who cares about the Maui Invitational because we're gonna wait for March. Like, I watch the games, I like the games, they play hard, and it's fun. It's a different environment.
Do you care about the NBA Summer League tournament?
I've been to the Summer League, so
yeah.
I like.
But you
the Summer
care who
League.
wins?
That's purely exhibition.
That's different. That's
purely exhibition.
Right, and I just want to see what the rookies play. That's a totally different thing. These are the actual players playing.
By the way, just to take this to news that's happening, did you see JJ Redick is not committing to coaching the Summer League team? Dude, unsolicited advice, I'd coach that team.
Yeah, Fran Fischel for ESPN, he said that was the number one thing he thought that he should do is coach that Summer League team. Because
coach any team.
You get great, I know, I mean, you need the experience, right? Like, and like, throw yourself in the fire that no one cares you win or lose. Like, I don't know. I was surprised when I heard that. I thought he was going to coach them.
Speaking of rookies, NBA draft tonight. We could touch on it more next hour. I know you guys were talking about it, but these rookies are going to have to learn right away. A team who has great vets can help accelerate that process. Well, one guy who wants that role, even if it means not really ever getting on the floor, John Wall.
I know a lot of these teams have a lot of, have a lot of young guys on the team. They don't have a lot of vets, and I think you need those vets in the locker room. That's what teams are missing. I'm willing to accept any role it is to be on the team. You know what I mean? If it's playing, not playing, Benny Udonis has a role, anything like that, I just want to be in the NBA jersey again because I know how much the game mean to me, how much I still have left.
A Udonis Haslam role. That was on Podcast P, Paul George's podcast. John Wall has not been in the NBA since the 2022-23 season where he was on the Clippers. 33-year-old, clearly misses the game. He's asking for a chance.
Right. I mean, injuries have really taken their toll on John Wall. But Udonis Haslam's got to be this emeritus status with Miami because he had won there and also could be like Eric Spoelstra's body man, basically, right?
Yeah, when Jimmy Butler gets out of line, he can basically pull him aside and say, hey, don't fight him, fight me.
He can execute anything that the coach needs done. Is that what we look at with John Wall?
That's the thing I can't figure out. Like, Udonis Haslam's been an OG since he was a rookie. Like, that's just kind of how he's always presented himself. So him playing 20 years and just being an assistant coach by the end makes sense. I mean, John Wall was like a flashy star. Like,
well, also, here's the thing about John Wall. He's like, I'll play or not play. It's like, well, why would I have you on to not play? If you want to be a mentor, I'll just charge you. You can be a consultant. You don't need a uniform for that. You can be part of the team.
He wants an NBA check. That's why.
Clearly. So it's disingenuous from the very beginning.
Well, I think I don't know, maybe he thinks he still can play, and maybe he's just trying to humbly use the guise of that role. I mean, we forget quickly how good people were. All-star 5 straight seasons through 2018 with the Wizards, and then the heel, and then the infection, then tore his Achilles.
Yeah, no, he was former number over pick. I get it with John Wall, but there's also some other things about John. I would not look at him and be like, that's the guy I want in my locker room with a lot of young people.
Yeah, it just doesn't look like a mentor to me. That's not now. Maybe like people mature, people change.
Yeah.
I just feel like I've seen how he's moved in the last year, and I'm like, he wants to be a mentor. Like I don't see that. I don't know.
All right, really quickly, some baseball notables from last night. We know how stacked the NL wildcard race is. Matt Chapman with a pair of RBIs. Giants beat the Cubbies 5-1. We had a dust-up in the first inning in San Diego last night. Nationals catcher Keibert Ruiz and Padres outfielder Jurickson Profar. Profar walked up to the plate. Ruiz apparently had something to say to him. I was trying to look back if there was something that happened in the game from the last night. Off the top of my head, I don't even know if they played on Monday, honestly. But they started jawing with each other immediately. Ruiz kind of was like putting a hand on his shoulder and poking him, pushing and shoving. Bench is clear, nothing happened. And then 5 innings later, Profar launched a grand slam, and the Padres beat the Nats 9-7. So
wow.
I saw that Jesse Winkler the night before.
Yeah, was arguing with Padres fans.
Well, a fan.
Yeah, but he argues with everybody.
Right,
He's an agitator.
That's what he always does. So, but I don't know what that would have had to do with Profar.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's having a great season, though.
He's awesome. Yeah.
That's probably the most excitement Padres fans have had all year. Because that team stinks.
I know. How is this team this bad?
And I went to a game last year, and it was very quiet.
I remember San Diego.
I screamed at Tatis, saying, "You're a bum. You're nothing without the steroids."
Oh wow!
And a bunch of them were like, they looked at me and shocking gasp. I was like, "You got your hard-earned money going to these games is getting paid to this guy, and he sucks." And you're just, you're mad at me for saying something? I'm not even a Padres fan. Have some respect.
Pat's just sitting in the stands of the Padres doing a New York radio show. He's a bum. He stinks. They don't do that stuff around the country.
I've been to Petco, and Pat's right. They're not an intense crowd at all, but it is beautiful there, though.
It is beautiful.
I love that stadium. It's.
But no one's answering the question, why are they so bad? Because it's not like they have nobody on the roster.
They're kind of like the Clippers of the Major League Baseball.
Oh, that's good.
Right?
Comp.
They're kind of just like
Machado, Tatis, all these guys that they paid a bunch of money for.
The pitching staff?
We always think they're going to be a thing, but they're never actually going to be a thing. Just like the Clippers.
That's a shame.
Finally, Shohei Ohtani tied a Dodgers franchise record with an RBI in 9 straight games, led the game off with his NL-leading 24th home run. Dodgers beat the White Sox 4-3. And Maggie, break up your grimace Mets. Rock Garrett Cole last night. Mets beat the Yankees 9-7.
I know, and the Mets still almost choked it away. But Garrett Cole, something happened. He just was totally off last night. But that's okay. We have more baseball for you coming up next hour. Coming up next, though, we have a quarterback competition in the NFL. I'm going to be honest, guys. I did not see this one coming. This is not your average quarterback competition. We'll get to that next. It's Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. If you're watching the show, youtube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network. Perloff has essentially put like Chekhov's gun on the table here. Eventually, this is going to fire. You want to explain what you have in front of you?
So I'm not sure if the camera could pick this up. I have 4 boxes of lime jello, 3 cans of chunk light tuna, and a jar of queen olives with pimento. This is going to concoct a lime jello tuna fish lutefisk special that Maggie has to eat on tomorrow's show because of a lost bet in the NBA Western Conference Finals. I had the T-Wolves. She had the Nuggets. I'm sorry, it was the semifinals. This could be gross, but we're going to make it after the show.
Today.
Let me ask you a question. You have to eat this tomorrow. Would you rather watch it being made to know what you're getting into, or would you rather be surprised tomorrow? Which is going to make you less sick?
Nothing. Nothing is going to make me less sick. And by the way, you're missing a key ingredient here.
Uh-oh, what?
Didn't you have some oysters that I was also supposed to be eating?
So
Not the Rocky Mountain oysters; those were very hard to find. But instead, these are smoked. Oh, they're in a can.
They're they're not just in any can; they're in a sardine-like can. Now, so I'm going to give you the choice, Maggie. You have to make it right now. Would you, in lieu of eating Rocky Mountain oysters, which actually sound quite delicious, would you want me to put these smoked oysters, hand-packed in olive oil, in a sardine can, into the lime jello tuna fish concoction?
Well, yeah, and by the way, we know that Rocky Mountain oysters aren't actual oysters. That was the beginning of the bet. It just turns out it's really hard to find Rocky Mountain oysters in this area.
Yes.
It was difficult. We tried. I can still try. Yes. I
honestly,
no.
I don't think we can put these in.
I want them separate.
I think the flavor of the smoked oysters combining with lime jello, just the smell of it, you wouldn't even be able to take a bite.
Well, they're all going to combine in my stomach at some point. So what's the difference?
There is a difference. How many bites do we have to do here? EJ, what's the ruling? Do we have anything on record of how much Maggie has to eat?
We never got a record on how much she has to eat, but I think she has to eat it. She has to. We make her a plate, and she has to eat a considerable amount. It has to be to the point where if your young son ate it, and we would say, hey, you didn't eat enough of your food, go back.
No.
That has to be the rule.
No.
No, that's not mean you had to eat it all.
I thought what we were going to do is I have to have one bite for every game it went.
7?
Do I have 7 bites?
Well, no, because you got to do the second series, so you got to do 12.
I was actually going to say, do I just have to do 6? But I wasn't sure. Or 4, I guess. I don't know.
Well, no, it's 7. The first round was a 7-game series.
Yeah.
And then the second, the Western Conference Finals, which you doubled down on, was a 5-game series. So 12 bites, which would probably get to where I want anyway. So it's fine.
I really don't want to do 12 bites. I really don't.
Well,
I'll do 7.
You lost this bet, Maggie.
I'll do 7. But this part of it is still being negotiated. I never said I wouldn't eat everything. This part is still being negotiated. I'll do 7 bites for the original 7-game series, Nuggets T-Wolves.
I think that's fair.
12 bites, dude. You still need me to host the show.
I think
as the executive producer, you should not want me to take 12 bites.
Yeah, that would be a problem for you. Too sick to continue.
EJ, 2 bites in, she's done. We don't even need 7 bites.
Quickly, save
no
me.
way she gets to 7.
Mike is in South Carolina. Let's change the subject. But yes, this is all going down tomorrow. Again, youtube.com/Infinity Sports Net. Mike, save me. What's going on?
Save me. Now, this Italian, now I'm starting to salivate like Pavlov's dog, Rolling Stones. Oysters, damn. Maggie, last week I called you, and I heard you, when you were on the fan.
Yeah.
But last week I called you, Met fan, and when I shook Willie Mays' hand in the parking lot.
I remember.
But yeah. Okay, now, college stadiums football. My son went to Cortland. He was a wide receiver, okay? SUNY Cortland. He's 29 now. Now, the best college stadium I can think of, I'm 70 years old now, hard to believe, is West Point. How many good coaches cut their teeth at West Point?
You know what?
Mike,
it's a great one, Mike. West Point, I mean, that atmosphere is unmatched,
Yeah, iconic. Parcells, his first coaching job, Indiana, Bobby Knight. And and I can tell you this, too. I mentioned, if I could, and what's coming into the equation, I read all the time. I still love my music. I was a pretty good drummer, and sports. You know what's coming into play with this whole college football and everything else is gambling.
Oh, I know. Well, Mike, thank you. Sorry, we're up against it.
No, that's...
Oh, I'm sorry. We got to go. We don't have control over this break at the top of the hour. The gambling aspect, you got to think about it with home field. That's for sure.
West Point was a good pull.
That is definitely true. West Point should be on that list.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Major NBA stuff going down last night. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. You had a move by the Knicks to add Mikal Bridges to their team. So if you're keeping score at home, that is now 4 players who played at Villanova and won titles in college at Villanova who are all teaming up on the same college team. This is like your Philadelphia Eagles, Perloff. Keep drafting players from Georgia who are all teammates. Hasn't worked for the Eagles yet. Maybe it'll work for the Knicks.
Wow, it's been great. The Eagles have done really well with those Georgia guys, and I think it's worked already for the Knicks too. This formula is definitely work. The chemistry between those Nova guys is undeniable.
I'm into the tune of a title. I mean, that's why you're in it, right? And I know, like, your Philadelphia Eagles got close. They got to the Super Bowl. Have added more Georgia players since then. We'll see what happens with the Knicks. But it was not at a cheap cost here. Mikal Bridges has never been an all-star. He's a very good player, but he's never been an all-star. 5 picks, including 4 unprotected first-round picks, also a pick swap in 2028. That was what it took to pry Mikal Bridges out of the Brooklyn Nets to bring him to the New York Knicks.
All right. Again, what is the difference between Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges? Mikal Bridges is just a slightly higher-end Josh Hart, and Dante DiVincenzo is in the same. I feel like the Knicks just keep adding wing players. I know it's about the Celtics, but for some reason, this seems like a funny team to me. Like they've collected a lot of very similar players.
Well, I mean, think about it, though. You're going to need a lot of wing players to defend against Tatum and Brown. They're all not going anywhere. And having good 3-and-D guys is always, that's
Right.
the NBA today.
Right. But don't you have to complement them with something else at a certain point too? Maybe you don't. But also, good 3-and-D. It's one thing to have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. It's another thing to have Mikal Bridges
and Josh Hart.
And then obviously with the Jalen Brunson is a different thing.
Well, Jalen Brunson has worked himself into an MVP candidate. So, he's obviously, been amazing as a primary ball handler for the Knicks. And then we'll see about what happens inside. They still have Mitchell Robinson, right? But he's never really been healthy enough to get through a whole season. But anyway, that's what's going on with the Knicks. Meanwhile, the Nets now have more draft picks than they will know what to do with, and we'll see how they set themselves up for 2025. They are going to be a very bad team this year. Awful team. So that's what's going on the East Coast. On the West Coast, you had lots of trades being made, but none that involved any players, Perloff. Kind of odd. Woj dropping bombs all over the place last night about picks that are going to the Houston Rockets, even more picks for Houston. And there are a lot of tea leaves because Woj is out there connecting dots that the Houston Rockets may be going after Kevin Durant. And if not Durant, maybe Devin Booker. Those are 2 kind of pretty big names to be dropping here as sort of add-ons with all of these picks. I mean, Kevin Durant or Devin Booker leaving the Phoenix Suns would be huge news.
Yeah, I think it's very different, too. I feel like Durant's a win right now move. Devin Booker's like, okay, we're building a little bit more here because he's much younger, obviously.
Yeah.
I feel like Durant, I mean, if you're going to put him out on the market, say Houston, Woj tweets out that Houston wants him. All the other GMs are like, whoa, is Durant possible to get? Because I think you could add him to a bunch of teams and all of a sudden you're starting title. I'm thinking Oklahoma City. I know Minnesota has no money. Dallas, any of these teams in the East that want, I mean, if you could get Kevin Durant for one more year, oh my God, I would move heaven and earth for that as long as it's like 1 year.
Interesting. I feel like Booker would actually be the real prize there, more so than Durant, but that's me. 855-212-4227. You're welcome to weigh in. Now, there's definitely a Lakers component to this because isn't there always, which is there a possibility that this opens the door for LeBron James to then join the Phoenix Suns? So if Kevin Durant is moved out, that means all of a sudden they have salary that they could spend on LeBron, and Bronny was one of the teams he worked out for was the Phoenix Suns. The other one was the Lakers. So could this open the door for LeBron to leave and go to Phoenix? Maybe.
Wait, I'm a little confused.
I don't know why he would, but
aren't LeBron and KD still friends, or aren't they close? I have no idea where they left it. I know they were in that commercial in the back of the cab.
Acquaintances. I don't know if they say they're good friends.
Right, but that I think it brings up a good question. If you lost Kevin Durant off the Suns and you still have Devin Booker and Bradley Beal, is that a team that strategically LeBron thinks he could win a title with? Because they're very thin. To get those 3 superstars, they had to give up all their other resources. I think that's a tough spot. Draft Bronny, bring in LeBron, have Booker and Beal. I don't know if that's going to work in the West.
Well, again, I don't know why LeBron would want to leave when you have the LA Lakers who are basically catering to your every need.
Yeah, good point too.
There was an article in The Athletic yesterday by Sam Amick, who's a very good reporter, who says, Jeannie Buss's number 1 priority is keeping LeBron happy. Okay, good luck with that. That maybe LeBron and AD also want them to go all in for a star. Plus, they just hired a head coach who did a podcast with the guy, for goodness sakes, and they are fine with drafting his son. So to me, like, I don't really see why LeBron would leave this, cushy situation for him where he's really carved out a lot of power. Why would you trade that in for an unknown where you have a new owner? Goodness knows what Matt Ishbia is going to end up being in this league. And you got Isaiah Thomas in the front office, and he's never met a bad trade that he didn't like. So if I'm LeBron, I would caution against this. And I don't know how you hang this over the Lakers' head for leverage. What more can they give you? They're giving you everything that you want. I don't know what else he could extract from them.
Well, I mean, you say that, but if LeBron is focused on this Jordan chase, then maybe he thinks he has a better place to win a title. Because, LeBron, they had a healthy LeBron and AD, and you didn't get out of the first round. So what's going to make it easier this year as LeBron gets older? I think it's going to get harder.
No, I think they want him to trade for a star. And I feel like the Lakers will do whatever LeBron says.
Right, but what kind of star? I mean, I think there are very few stars who can really up their championship hopes. Unless somebody we don't even expect cuts loose. I mean, what kind of star? We're going to get a flawed star, either an old guy like Paul George or a guy who can't play defense like Trae Young. They're not going to get over the top. They're not getting a dream team kind of star here, are they? I mean, what are we talking about?
Well, I'm not sure, but I think the Lakers are probably hoping that there is some kind of ace up the sleeve move that the front office has. And again, Rob Pelinka.
This front office?
Rob Pelinka was out there yesterday, whenever JJ Redick got introduced, saying trades are harder than ever to come by.
Yeah, it does feel like the new salary cap has screwed up trades.
I was going to say, though, but then the Knicks just did this last night.
And made it harder by doing 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. What the heck are you going to need to get a Donovan Mitchell? Oh, my God.
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
It's like the NFL quarterbacks and the Cowboys and Dak Prescott. You want to get in there early because the price keeps going up. Yeah, I think the Lakers we're going to have Jake Fischer on later, NBA Insider, but I think they're in a tough spot. I don't think that superstar's coming to save the day.
So that's funny because we were having this conversation earlier, and you're welcome to weigh in on all the stuff we saw last night in the NBA at 855-212-4227. Who is going, we're already fast forwarding a little bit, but who's going to be that next star like Kareem in his prime, Shaq in his prime, who wants to come to the Lakers, LeBron.
Kobe, in the sense that Kobe said to all the other teams, don't draft me, I'm going to L.A.
A little different, but like who's the guy who maybe is already on a different roster? Not a future draft pick. A star on another roster who's going to want to be the next person to come to L.A. to sort of be that L.A. star. Well,
okay, Wemby has 1 year in San Antonio. Somebody, I think it was Ryan Russillo or someone said, is he already getting sick of San Antonio? I mean, that's a guy 4 or 5 years down the road who would follow in the footsteps of Kareem and Shaq, a dominant center. That'd be a nice name. The one that jumped to mind, like, at some point, Zion will be out of New Orleans, but he can't stay healthy.
Yep.
So other than that, I'm not sure. To me, a Giannis is way too old.
I think it's Giannis. I think he's the next guy.
He's 29 now. It's probably not going to be this season. You're getting an aging Giannis. That's not a Shaq in his prime. That's not Kareem in his prime.
It's not, but the Lakers love to star hunt. And Giannis would definitely be a star. Now, I don't know if LeBron is still going to be on the team when this happens.
See, that's not the kind of guy. I'm talking about a guy who is about to pull off a run of 5 titles, or like Kareem and Shaq.
Right.
And I don't think Zion's good enough to do that. That's what the Lakers have to target, not a Joel Embiid or a Giannis on the back 9. So I don't even know. Maybe it's Alexander Sarr. I don't even know. But there's got to be
everyone's like, who? He's getting drafted.
The Lakers, like, after LeBron is gone, they need one of the top 5 players in the league. That's what the Lakers do. I'm not sure. Wemby's my best bet. I started manipulating my cap for 2030.
God.
I'm just wondering that Laker brand. I mean, so far it has always netted them that guy. Every time I end up thinking, oh, maybe this is the time they can't do it. They do it, but I mean, the Laker brand right now, I mean, they're hiring podcast hosts, and we think Clutch Sports runs the organization. If I'm a superstar, I'm serious about winning a championship. Is this the clown car I'm going to join right now?
Well, before Shaq came there, they had a real down stretch, and they've had down periods. I mean, a few, not too many.
Yeah, LeBron went there when they were essentially a lottery team.
Yeah, I mean, when Kobe got old, so they are cyclical. And even with that mayhem in the front office, we don't know who's running it. I think that brand is still strong. Just put yourself 2 years. By the way, remember what Zion did to them in that play-in game? I'll bet you they wouldn't mind having that guy in L.A. I just think that It's time to start thinking post LeBron. You won't do it because
I won't.
he's 40. What is going on here?
No,
Why is nobody acknowledging the fact that LeBron is getting old?
855-212-4227 because it doesn't play like he's old. So meanwhile, we had a lot of moving parts yesterday, late last night on the East Coast with the Knicks again adding Mikal Bridges for 5 first-round picks, 4 of them unprotected. And then we also had a flurry of picks going back and forth between Brooklyn, Houston, Phoenix, everyone trying to stockpile, specifically the Houston Rockets, to try to get a star. Maybe it's Kevin Durant. Maybe it's Devin Booker. That would be shape-shifting. I think even more so than Paul George.
Absolutely. But the only question I have about Houston is, are they really that close to title contention?
Ooh, I like Houston.
I like Houston too, but I'm assuming if you make a trade for, especially Devin Booker, I mean, a lot of those good young players that people really like, a Jalen Green, Alperen Şengün, those guys are probably gone, or at least one of them is gone. Like, are you still that good with losing those guys, but then adding a Devin Booker?
No. Where's Jalen Green going? That's the reason you're bringing these guys.
Jalen Green's going to play next to Devin Booker? You just tried a version of that in Phoenix, and it flopped with Bradley Beal.
Jalen Green's still a teenager. What are you talking about? He can't leave. What's the point of being a Rocket? What is the point of the Rockets franchise if they
I'm the Phoenix Suns, don't even call me if you're not bringing Jalen Green to Phoenix. Don't even call me.
Okay,
Houston's
but
not trading
that's what the
Jalen
picks
Green.
are for, right?
Yeah, Devin Booker, you got the picks, sure, but Devin Booker is a perennial all-star, an all-NBA player. Yeah, I need to replace him with a tangible young guy to build around. That's how these trades work. This Mikal Bridges trade worked for the Knicks because they gave them so many first-round picks that the Nets didn't need a player from the Knicks. If you're Houston, I'm getting a better player in Devin. I mean, Devin Booker's way better than Bridges, obviously. Yeah, I'm going to need those picks, and I'm going to need another good player, clearly.
Yeah, but I don't think Houston's looking at it that way. I got to agree with Perloff on this one, EJ. 855-212-4227. What's that?
I'm willing to put a show bet on this.
That you think Jalen Green's in a trade for Devin Booker?
If they make a trade for Devin Booker, Jalen Green's gone.
Oh, yeah. I feel like, and maybe I'm overestimating, Jalen Green's like kind of Anthony Edwards light. Like, he is ascending fast.
Which is why Phoenix is going to want
Phoenix,
him.
Of course, Phoenix wants Jalen Green, but I don't think Houston wants to get rid of him just because it feels like they built this whole thing to surround him. And I love Fred VanVleet so much. I think they are going to be an interesting team.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I'm not going to participate in another show bet until tomorrow's bet is paid off. You can see the ingredients if you're watching our show, youtube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network, where there is, from left to right, Spanish olives, lime green jello, solid tuna.
Chunk light tuna, even grosser.
And smoked oysters. 3 of those 4 ingredients are going into a jello mold. And I have to eat the smoked oysters on the side as a stand-in for Rocky Mountain oysters, which we know are not oysters, obviously. They're bull's testicles. But we couldn't find them. Amanda, yes?
Question.
Yes.
How are we layering this?
Chef Perloff?
I was just looking at how you make Jell-O.
That's why you're reading that box?
When you say layer, can you just plop it into the liquid
you
Jell-O?
can, but do you not want to layer, put the Jell-O and then the tuna and the olives and then no, you're just throwing it all in?
EJ, can you pull up some of the photos of these disgusting tuna lime Jell-O things?
Yes,
it's
I'm
all
sure
mixed
Cap's
together.
going to get the photos on the
It's
screen.
more tuna than Jell-O.
It is like a casserole, Amanda. It's not like a tiramisu or like a mousse. Like those are actually good. Like this is just this is what's in the back of my refrigerator from 8 months ago, and I need something to eat, so I'm just throwing it all in there. So there should not be, and there will not be any layering here. Maggie's gonna have to just eat this all in one bite, because that's the thing too. Like I'm a big fan of Chopped, and one thing I see from Chopped is like when you get a bad ingredient, they'll say, you know what, I'm gonna take. In the martini, I'll take the olive and not use the martini. Right. Like, we're not going to allow Maggie to do that. We don't want her to be like, oh, you know what? Okay, you layered it good. I'll only eat the Jell-O, or I'll only eat the tuna. No. We're putting it in a casserole so Maggie can eat it all.
Yeah.
That's how it's got to go.
Thank you, EJ, for laying that all
I'm
out.
so sorry, Maggie.
Does anyone know how to make Jell-O?
Is that enough Jell-O? Those boxes look kind of small.
Here, give me one of the boxes, please.
I don't know. It says it makes... you add boiling water. We got a problem.
Yeah, it's hot water, and then you just mix it,
Boiling
and then
water
you
shouldn't
pour
be
it
too
into
hard.
the mold.
We can get hot water from the water machine.
Okay.
That we should be able to
Here's
do.
what it says. You went to Ivy League school. You can't figure this out? Add 1 cup of boiling water to the gelatin mix.
Yeah.
Stir for 2 minutes until completely dissolved. Then you stir in 1 cup of cold water.
Right.
You refrigerate for 4 hours.
Now, but when do you, Amanda, you seem to know something about this. When do you put in the additions, the tuna and the olives?
Yes.
But before
while it's liquid?
Yeah, while it's liquid.
But when it's liquid, will those all
Yes.
fall to the bottom?
Yes,
that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah,
I think
because I
that
want
if
the
you
tuna
put
to be.
them
I don't
all
want Maggie to
in-
have any easy bites. That's important to me.
That's why I was saying, like, are
Thank
you
you.
gonna like do a small layer and then like put all of it in and then put the rest of the Jello in? Because if you put all of it in, it's gonna sink to the top.
Yeah, okay. We'll
So
talk
maybe you
about
do
this.
need
Well,
2 layers.
I'm glad we have Amanda here.
Yeah,
So we
by
can
the way.
make sure this is as diabolical
We were
as
definitely a
possible.
man short before you jumped on the scene there.
Also, Delta's in the chat saying that's definitely enough Jello.
Yeah, I think
box
it's
looks
a
so
small
small.
box, but I think it makes a
No,
lot.
they make a lot.
Oh, okay.
They make a lot.
That's great.
Maggie, do you have the mold? The mold is hysterical too. It's like something from the 70s.
Oh, it's in the it's in the office.
This is gonna be so nasty.
Yeah,
Oh
it's-
my god, I
it's
can't wait.
My mom's friend. My mom didn't even have the mold. She had to go to a friend. So thank you, Bobby, who's helping us with their mold.
I'm just thinking about it, and I'm like, wait, do you have to do like I think you might have to do like a thin layer first so that the tuna and stuff doesn't fall out from the sides.
Ooh.
Oh my god.
We need Bobby Flay.
Wait,
to
the
help
tuna
help
won't
fix this.
solidify in the fridge?
Well, I think it would, but I don't know. I'm thinking about like.
But we
Maybe-
only have one mold though. If we have to make multiple rings, I don't know if we have time for that. Right?
Do the thin layer first, let that solidify, and then with the rest of it being liquid, mix all of it and then put it in there.
We're gonna be here all day. It takes
No.
4.5 hours for this to solidify.
None of that's happening.
I think
We're
you
just
should
gonna
throw
throw
it
it
all
all
in.
together
Throw it all
and
in.
pray
Throw it
for
all
the
in.
best.
Yeah.
Nailed it. You guys ever watch that show Nailed It, where they don't know how to cook and they end up making terrible
This
things?
sounds like an episode of Chopped.
Oh wait,
Like,
hold on. There's a
I don't know
speed
about
set
chop.
method. Do you want to go faster? You mix the gelatin with 3/4 of a cup of boiling water. You add ice and a half a cup of cold water.
Ooh, we got ice.
There
Then
you
how
go.
does the ice melt?
You remove any unmelted ice.
Yeah, whatever. I say we just go for it. Throw it and see what happens. Tuna falling out of the side sounds like an interesting adventure.
I don't want.
These by the
Darn
way,
you, Timberwolves. Crap.
We're underestimating how gross these olives with pimentos are. It's like little eyeballs floating around in that Jello.
Oh God.
Ooh.
Lime green Jello and olives. To me, the tuna fish is what's making me weirded out more than anything.
I told you yesterday. I'm saying it again. I think this is not going to taste as bad as you think. I really
think
do.
You're crazy.
I'm telling you. I think.
This is you being the optimistic producer. Like, guys, it's going to work out. It's not. It's not going to work out.
I'm going to eat half of this. This is my lunch tomorrow, by the way, just so we're clear. Tuna fish, Jello.
It will not be my lunch.
That is disgusting.
I love. Do you guys not like tuna fish?
I like tuna fish. I like Jello.
Do you like
I do
Jell-O?
not want them together.
Why don't you just do it for me if you like this so much?
I would gladly do it for. I'm up for any eating challenge, but 2 bites, Maggie. That's all we need.
Well,
No, we're sticking on 7.
7 games,
I think
7
it should be
bites.
12, but we'll stick on 7. That was the series Maggie put on, and the T-Wolves won in 7 games.
People have to know Maggie's thing is not the flavor of the food; it's the texture of the food.
Well, it's both.
She hates flan. She hates creme brulee. I mean, anything that is at all jiggly, Maggie's not into. That sounded wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, is that fair to say? The texture is going to bother you extremely here.
It's going to be the texture and the taste, but the texture first. The taste second.
Yeah. I saw somebody order creme brulee the other day. I'm like, ooh, not in front of Maggie. Don't do that. You know, that
Don't
tapping
like
the creme brulee, that's
Oh.
such a fun thing.
The best thing I had in France was the creme brulee there. It was just divine. And I'm thinking, man, Maggie thinks this sucks. And now she's going to have to eat lime green Jello and tuna.
Not one of France's
Yeah.
delicacies. Biggie's in the chat said, who's going to hold Maggie's hair back when she pukes?
Yep.
Who wants to draw straws on that one?
Not it.
Nah.
I'll be a girl's girl. I'll be
Thank
here
you,
tomorrow.
Amanda. Thank you. Amanda knows. You have to run the board, though.
Well, people will be back on the board tomorrow,
Yeah.
so we'll be fine on that
Free set of
regard.
hands. Thank you, Amanda.
How about how do the people upstairs, how's the management feel about all this? I mean, we do share this studio with other shows.
I'm just kind of hoping no one shows up tomorrow from management.
It is summery.
Maybe everyone's just gone.
Yeah,
well,
this could end
they've
up
been
causing
gone because they're
trouble.
all at the Subway Series, and unfortunately, they're all going to be back tomorrow. I believe is the situation.
Oh boy.
Bad planning on our part.
Yeah.
Darn it.
Should have done this today.
All right. YouTube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, Twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network. We might be on Twitter for this one, too.
Ooh, gotta be.
At Maggie and Pearl. Yeah, set alarms, set calendars, set timers. This is going down tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Maggie and Perloff coming back. We've got Jake Fischer from Yahoo on all the latest on what's going on with NBA free agency. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, Jake Fischer from Yahoo going to join us in a few minutes to talk about the flurry of trades we saw yesterday in the NBA. But Pat Boyle is here with all the latest headlines. What's up, Pat?
What's going on? All right, guys, the news of the day. What?
What's going on?
Well, I was taking
us.
taking a second to pull up my script.
There
I
you go.
apologize. The New York Knicks have acquired Mikal Bridges from the Brooklyn Nets for a boatload of picks and the $19 million salary chip, which is Bojan Bogdanovic. The picks include 4 unprotected first-rounders, a protected 2025 first-round pick via the Bucks, a 2028 unprotected pick swap, and a 2025 second-round selection. The Knicks get back Brooklyn's 2026 second-round pick. Now for the Knicks, the Nova Knicks are now complete. 4 former Jay Wright Wildcats on the team, and Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, and now Bridges. We mentioned earlier the Knicks free agency plan now hinges on whether they can re-sign OG Anunoby and center Isaiah Hartenstein. The Nets weren't done. They then strike a deal with the Houston Rockets to exchange several draft picks to keep it short and sweet. The Nets get back their 2025 and 26 first-round pick that they sent to Phoenix in the Durant deal. The Rockets get the Suns' 2027 first-rounder. On the court last night in the WNBA, the Minnesota Lynx are Commissioner's Cup champs.
And Minnesota, 2024 Commissioner Cup champs in their first appearance, their first title.
That's Lisa Byington on Prime Video. The Lynx win the Cup, WNBA's in-season tournament. They beat the Liberty 94-89 at UBS Arena. Nafisa Collier named MVP of the Cup. She went for 21 points and 6 rebounds in the winning effort. Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu both had double-doubles combined for 47 points in the loss. Speaking of the WNBA, the most recent installment of Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese. What do you guys think? Did it break the viewership record that they had previously set a week ago?
Yes, I believe it did because I've already read that 50 times.
Okay, yes, it set another record. Yes, the game on Sunday, which was, 4 Eastern on ESPN, according to them, 2.3 million viewers. That's the most watched WNBA game since 2001. The previous one had 2.25.
Hey, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. Do we have Stanley Cup Game 7 numbers yet?
Yeah, that's out too.
I saw 7.7 million was what I saw.
Which is funny. I thought that was huge, but it actually was down from last year, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, or it was down from it's a big number and they were happy with it, but it wasn't quite as big as you might have expected. I'll find that number.
Okay.
Interesting.
The headline I just see Stanley Cup hits 5-year high with Game 7 thriller. But I don't know if maybe the overall Stanley Cup maybe didn't make it, but this Game 7 was big.
Yeah, it had to be.
Yeah. NBA draft is tonight. While you guys have talked about the rampant speculation regarding Bronny James, do we hear his name tonight? Is it by the Lakers or Suns? Second round is tomorrow. He could have to wait until then. The Lakers pick at 17. The Suns pick at 22. One guy who will certainly hear his name tonight, Dalton Knecht, the reigning SEC Player of the Year from Tennessee. He has shot up the draft board. Some mocks having him as high as number 5, along with the 2 French stars that will probably go 1 and 2, Zachary Rissache and Alex Sarr. Expect to hear UConn's Donovan Clingan and Stephon Castle in the top 10 as well. Really quickly, NFL news, the Jacksonville City Council voted 14-1, approving a $1.4 billion renovation of the Jaguars Stadium. The final hurdle now is getting the agreement approved by 24 of the NFL's 32 owners at the league's meetings in October in Atlanta. And finally, just another example, you can't trust anything out of a college coach's mouth. Texas A&M baseball coach Jim Schlossnagle, fresh off a men's College World Series title the other night, is leaving to take the Texas Longhorns job 24 hours after saying he would never leave A&M.
Well, and even if he just said, I'd never leave, and we see coaches be disingenuous about that all the time, but not only that, the guy had to rub it in a reporter's face with basically a how dare you ask me that question.
Right.
And then it turns out he was leaving. He looks so bad here.
Yeah. And why care, though?
Well, again.
Why care?
maybe he doesn't, but like that's a window into who you are, because you're going to start chastising somebody who's simply asking you the question, like they're not doing they're just doing their job, and then you are actually the jerk who's leaving.
Well, I think it's time now that reporters, especially, Boeheim got feisty at the end of his tenure when especially the student reporters would ask him questions.
Oh,
yeah.
Don't
Coach
trust
K
anything
did
a
that
college
too.
coaches say. Give it back to them.
Well, how about Roy Williams did it to Bonnie Bernstein on live TV and then left to go to North Carolina right after Kansas lost the national
Well,
championship.
journalists, get feisty. Get feisty back at these coaches.
By the way, Roy Williams didn't say, I'm staying here forever. That's one thing. He just...
Right, he did not say that.
Yeah, he was... by the way, that ratings thing with the NHL, in 2019, that Game 7 got 8.9 million compared to this in the 7. It was a little bit below the Blues-Bruins Game 7, but it is awesome. That's where I got 8.9. Sorry, I apologize.
No, that's okay. I'm surprised. Do you think most of Canada watched Pulling for Edmonton, or do you think they don't care?
Oh, I saw it got the highest rating, like 57% of Canada or something crazy watched that game last night. It was an all-time high there.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that Canada, outside of Calgary, was probably all maybe pulling a little bit for Edmonton, but I don't think that rivalry is too strong. Pat, thank you so much. Great job. All right, we're going to quickly pivot here because it's a big time in the NBA. So we want to bring aboard our pal, Jake Fischer, who joins us from Yahoo. We love Jake, senior NBA reporter, Yahoo Sports, also wrote a fantastic book called Built to Lose, How the NBA's Tanking Era Changed the League Forever. Jake, thanks for the time. We know it's busy this morning. How you doing?
I appreciate you guys having me. Always good to talk to you, Maggie.
Oh, man, thanks for doing it. Okay, first of all, let's react to what we saw last night. We'll leave the Knicks for a second. We'll get to them in a minute. But the Phoenix Suns, the Rockets, the Nets, picks going back and forth, but the bottom line, Houston Rockets have more picks than they know what to do with right now. Woj saying they could be targeting Kevin Durant or Devin Booker. What can you tell us from the people you're talking to?
There's definitely a lot of moving parts in this deal. If you want to focus on the Houston side of things first, I think it's clear to point out that, or it's important to point out that the Phoenix's involvement with the picks that actually got moved last night, that was the Nets taking essentially pieces of their haul that Brooklyn got back for Kevin Durant at last year's trade deadline and exchanging it back to Houston for the Nets' own picks and swaps that Brooklyn sent the Rockets for James Harden way back in 2021. And that helps Brooklyn. I know it's all a bit confusing, but that helps Brooklyn maintain their own draft capital, which they're expecting to be at the top of the draft for the next coming years, as they have pretty much announced to the league, they're going to be taking a pretty hard pivot towards going back into a rebuild form. For Houston, if they do want to eventually approach Phoenix, which there's plenty of connectivity between the fact that Ime Udoka was an assistant coach in Brooklyn when Kevin Durant was there, to have an affinity for each other. And I think as long as Ime Udoka is coaching in the NBA, Kevin Durant is going to look at any of his teams as a possibility for his next landing spot if and when he were to decide he wanted to change teams.
Jake, it's a minor detail maybe, but why are Phoenix and Houston giving the Nets back their pick if it's possibly going to be the number one overall pick? Because there's no scenario where the Nets win any games. Why wouldn't they hold on to that?
Yeah, Brooklyn compensated Houston. They basically got back 2 picks and gave Houston more. So it is kind of equitable, I think, on the overall scale of it all. And it gives Houston more opportunity to go chase a big fish to add to this rebuild at a certain point in time.
Wait, Jake. So Jake Fischer is joining us from Yahoo. But here's the other part of this that I don't really understand. Is Kevin Durant unhappy? Like, I get he might want to play for Ime Udoka at some point, but like he just got to Phoenix basically last midway through last season, and that was a place he specifically wanted to go. He told the Nets he wanted to trade and only to go to Phoenix. Now he's unhappy? Why?
No, I don't have a sense that he's unhappy and wants out.
Okay.
I just think if you look at the board, and NBA teams are always stacking their draft picks and their cap space in order to capitalize when a player of his caliber is unhappy, the Suns only have limited optionality to get better. They, being in the second apron under the NBA's new collective bargaining agreement, they can't combine salaries. They can't take back more salary. They're lacking draft capital outside of this year's number 22 pick that comes tonight, and then a 31 future first-round pick they have in their cupboard. So I think teams are just preparing themselves for, let's say Phoenix falls short come the trade deadline. A lot of activity around the league happens right now. You position yourself to be able to pounce come February if a situation like Phoenix were to go awry. But the Suns have zero intentions, I want to be clear, on moving any of their big three. If you saw Matt Ishbia's really loud and proud press conference at the end of the season, they think they've got a big three that every team in the league would be jealous of, and they have every intent to build around that group right now.
By the way, I'm hearing the 2031 draft is stacked right now, Jake. There's a lot of good prospects. How about the Lakers? Any chance they add another star this week?
Absolutely. I think they, had conversations with Atlanta before the February trade deadline about DeJounte Murray, and they're going to look at Trae Young, and they're going to look at potentially other areas. Jeremy Grant, another Clutch Sports client of Rich Paul in Portland, I think is on their list as well. We reported that at Yahoo. I believe that was Monday. All the days are running together now. But I think the Lakers are also looking at big men. I know I talked to Yves Misi, the freshman out of Baylor, about this yesterday at the media day. They've been working out plenty of bigs to take that number 17 pick too, who could potentially slide Anthony Davis over to the power forward spot. So the Lakers are going to be super active in many different avenues.
Jake Fischer is joining us from Yahoo. Of course, NBA senior writer, insider. Built to Lose is his book. It's fantastic about tanking in the NBA. All right, Jake, other things that are percolating right now that you want to tell our audience and us that we should be on the lookout for is what?
So with the draft tonight, everyone around the league, I think the number one domino that's going to fall for this offseason is what Paul George ends up doing in his free agency decision, whether to opt in to his last year at the Clippers and request a trade if he wants out of LA altogether. But for tonight, the most important thing that's going to set the tone for all that stuff is going to be what ends up happening with Donovan Clingan. Because whether Atlanta wants him at number one or whether they want to try to entice a team to trade up and take him later, or if he gets past Houston, who's picking third, and they have been advertising that pick all around the league, looking for an opportunity to move down into the top 10 and pick up more future draft capital. Donovan Clingan is the one player that it seems all these teams are interested in trading up to get. So where he falls on the board and how far he can fall, whether that's, number 3 at Houston, if teams are trading up there, if he gets down to number 5 with Detroit, there'd be plenty of trade opportunity there. I think there's a massive amount of teams that want to go in and trade up for Donovan Clingan from Memphis, from Portland. I've gotten word that Oklahoma City is another team that's looking to trade into the top 5. They have the number 12 pick right now and a bunch of future picks. So Donovan Clingan, I think, is a big key in where he falls and who could potentially trade up for him that any NBA fan or any listener of your show should be paying attention to.
I have to ask about two older guys real quick. Where are Paul George and Jimmy Butler at the start of next season?
A lot of people on the league have always doubted that Paul George wants to leave L.A. He wanted to go to L.A. back when he was in Indiana, when he was dealt to OKC from Indiana. He went right to Los Angeles after a pit stop, and he is introduced as being from Palmdale. His parents sit courtside for every game. There's just a difficult scenario where the Clippers already gave Kawhi Leonard a 3-year, $153 million extension, and a lot of people with knowledge of that situation are of the belief that the Clippers can't go above that year or overall dollar figure for Paul, where he has offers like from Philadelphia waiting for him, according to our information. That of course, these teams don't talk to players before June 30th at 6 p.m. So I right now am skeptical that he will leave LA just because so many people around the league are. But these things are fluid, and people weren't expecting Mikal Bridges to get traded on Monday, and obviously that happened Tuesday night. So with Jimmy Butler, there could be some, wild blockbuster scenario where Paul George opts in and they get traded for each other. I've definitely heard that theorized about. But for now, I think in all the likelihood, those two guys seem far more probable to remain with their current teams. Jimmy's situation, I think, is far more cut and dried, being that he still has several years left on his contract. He's just extension eligible, and so we see that with Donovan Mitchell having his extension opportunity with Cleveland this summer, and Brandon Ingram has extension conversations happening with New Orleans. Those extension conversations, they put both team and player on notice to see what the other side values them at, and that can prevent long-term relationships from continuing and can provoke teams and players from try to start figuring out trade opportunities. So that's why all this stuff is kind of happening right now.
Jake Fischer joining us from Yahoo. Of course, Built to Lose is his book. Jake, is there any chance that Bronny James hears his name called tonight in the first round of the draft?
I wouldn't think so. If it does happen, I think it would be one of LA or Phoenix moving down from their pick. The Lakers are currently at 17, like we mentioned earlier. Phoenix is at number 22. And with this draft, there seems to be so many teams, from Memphis at number 9 to Sacramento at 13 to Philly at 16, all the way down. So many teams are going to wait to be on the clock because there is so much uncertainty with this class and see what trade offers are going to come in. And I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities for teams to move down either in the first and also pick up a couple of seconds. So, like, for example, the Utah Jazz are offering the number 29 pick and their number 32 pick right now to teams in that range. So if the Lakers or Phoenix were to move down to 22 or 29 and have another second rounder, I think there's a small chance he could go with one of those last picks in the first.
Wow. Jake, how's your French? Are you keeping up with this draft class? I'm having a little trouble with some of these names, to be honest.
My French, I know, is Je m'appelle Jacques, but I have corrected plenty of NBA people who are pronouncing TJ and Salwan as Saloon for the last couple days. So I'm working on it. But yeah, it was amazing. 24 of the prospects invited to the green room were at media day yesterday, and I think 5 of them were French. So there was definitely a lot of French buzzing around that ballroom yesterday in Midtown.
Good job, Jacques.
Yeah, Jacques, thank you so much. Jake Fischer, Jake L. Fischer, of course, from Yahoo, his book, Built to Lose. It's fantastic. Jake, thanks so much for the time again. We know it's busy. Have fun with the draft tonight.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep, and tomorrow night. I forgot.
Oh, yeah.
2 nights.
Yeah. I was wondering, know where I'd like to be tonight? The James household. Just to sit on the couch with LeBron and Bronny. Would that be fascinating?
I don't think it's going to happen tonight.
Well, no, I mean, just watching the rest of the first round go by and him not get drafted, to me, that would be fascinating, too, because at least he's not going, right? Bronny's staying home?
No, he's not going to the green room.
Right. So I'm assuming they want to be cautious just in case he falls the second round. They don't want an Aaron Rodgers situation.
Right.
I think it'd be cool. I'll bet you like the 25th pick, they're all going to be like, I can't believe they're taking that guy instead of my son.
I just wonder how much pull does LeBron really have? Is there enough there that he could actually get him drafted in the first round?
Yeah, that's the other thing, too. Is LeBron picking up the phone at 27 and be like, hey, my guy's there.
Or calling in a favorite, Adam Silver. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes. 855-212-4227. Okay, lots more to do, including Chiefs getting involved in a venture none of us saw coming. We'll tell you what it is next. Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Done playing Taylor out of the break because we've got Chiefs news. Guess who's getting a Hallmark movie? Chiefs are making a movie in 2024, and Mahomes is not the headliner. That's the lead of this story. Kansas City and the Hallmark are collaborating on a holiday movie. It's going to be called Holiday Touchdown, a Chiefs love story.
I can't believe this is happening. This is football. This is supposed to be the manly man sport. We're making a Hallmark movie. I mean, there's just way too much romance around this right now.
So it's going to be about a super fan is what they're doing here. It's not going to be like about Taylor and Travis, I don't think, right? It's supposed to be...
I thought at first it was going to be a fictitious movie where a pop star meets a star football player, but it doesn't seem like they're really going in. I saw the Chiefs are co-producing it, so they can't co-produce a faux Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce movie. It's got to be something a little different.
I would think so. I thought it was something about a super fan because we were making fun of it. Does it end up being Chiefsaholic at the end and they rob banks together, a little Bonnie and Clyde situation?
Not exactly Hallmark.
Fair.
It was like Christopher Nolan movie.
In the getaway car, a reference to a Taylor song.
See, this is why we need Amanda around here.
And Rashee Rice is driving.
Oh gosh. Oh,
Make it a horror movie.
No, Rashee Rice. That was dark.
Real life is coming into this way too much. Okay, so they're going to start filming this in July, and some of the players are going to have to make appearances.
Wait, you asked EJ and I something on our production call last night. How long does it take to shoot a Hallmark movie? And you never told us the answer. Do you know?
I don't know. I think it probably takes a couple of weeks.
I think she wanted us to answer her. I think she legit didn't know.
I thought it was like, I thought it was a trivia question. It's right. So you got to have, obviously, Mahomes and Kelce, if they're not there, I mean, everyone's going to be so disappointed. And it'd be nice to see Andy Reid have a role. He was awesome in that commercial.
Can Hallmark afford? Can they afford Mahomes?
I mean, the Chiefs are collaborating. The Chiefs can afford Mahomes.
I think Mahomes does this just for free.
You think that? No. You think not for free. Maybe what's if Brittany might do it for free. You think they're doing the Nuggies? The Nuggies are not making into this.
Oh, the Nuggies.
You think Andy Reid was good in that? Oh, good grief.
Oh, he was amazing. No, I guarantee he's doing it for free. To be a cameo in a Hallmark movie, that'd be awesome. Guys, athletes do free cameos all the time. Jason Kelce was in Always Sunny. They didn't pay him.
So you got to have Travis. Maybe he's like pretending to be on the phone with Taylor or something like that because she's not going to make an appearance.
Now that's a line too far. She will not be in a Hallmark movie.
Mahomes has got to have an appearance. I bet Brittany does. I feel like somehow how they find the way to get the kids in there. Like they're all just everyone's going to use this for their own personal gain. The big question is Harrison Butker in? Is he with the Hallmark crowd?
Well, listen, this is
tell her to get back in the kitchen.
This is Chiefs, so it's late June. We could have 4 more scandals by the time. I mean, they've already had crazy. 2 since Butker. Anyway.
Meanwhile, so that's what's going on with the Chiefs. We have a brewing. Speaking of celebrities, we have a brewing controversy between Perloff and a famous actor.
Yes, so Perloff, had his take that Mikal Bridges is not going to make a difference on the Knicks, which is obviously blasphemy. And one of the Knicks celebrity fans is upset. Jerry Ferrara, Turtle from Entourage, he's in Twitter. He says, LOL, this is hilarious. A duplicative piece? Yep, you got me. No team wants multiple great defenders who shoot well from 3. He also said, someone on Lord Perloff, his Sixers are praying to even have a shot at signing OG Anunoby. So multiple shots from Jerry Ferrara.
So Jerry comes after me all the time because he said during the NBA playoffs, I only cut clips and put them on social media when there were bad calls in favor of the Knicks. And he's accurate.
Jerry, by the way, was the first ever celebrity picker on the Maggie and Perloff show when he picked NFL games for us. And I don't think we're getting him back on now with your attitude.
No.
Thanks for nothing.
No, God bless him. He is a true fan. I mean, and you've known him a long time, right? Like, this is not an act in any way when it comes to the Knicks with him. I'm starting to learn that the hard way.
We've been talking about parades and who should be on whose float, talking about the Celtics and stuff. If the Knicks ever do win, it's not just the 90s Knicks. You got to get Jerry Ferrara. You got to get Ben Stiller. There's got to be a whole celebrity float.
Ferrara, Spike Lee, Tracy Morgan.
Matthew Modine.
Yes, they got to get on there.
Maybe
even Larry David.
I will not be invited on any of those floats.
You're not invited.
I will find my way on one of them, but I will not be invited.
Thank you, EJ and Amanda and Pete and Pat and Andrew Kaplan.